Hi everyone, please subscribe to my channel. Blood Immortal. See playlist for other chapters and novels. Join now our Telegram channel now and enjoy exclusive early access. t.me/blood_immortal_official. I do not translate the novels. Credits goes to original translator and author of the novel. I only make it as an audiobook so it would be easier to just listen while doing other things. Credits goes to the author of the novel. I convert stories to audiobook for mental health, for multitasking purpose, for accessibility and time saving. Listening to audiobook is also beneficial for people who have disability. It improves our listening skills and improve our English comprehension, vocabulary and other things. So, thank you for listening. Thank you and thank you very much for your support. Chapter 221, Jade White Bones. Chapter 221, Jade White Bones. Lesser Celestial Lower Level. This wasn't a weak cultivation base. If this were the old Lin Fan, he would have revered a beast like this. But the current him no longer had any room in his heart for something like this. Furthermore, his dear Chicky's cultivation base was also a lesser celestial lower level. How could they lose with this 2v1 advantage? Lin Fan swung his arms with his eternal axe, warming himself up to get ready for battle. Chicky looked at Lin Fan and followed suit, swinging its wings up and down, twisting its little claws. It even wrung that highly arched chicken head of itself in circles, as though it was circulating the blood in its body system, prepping for a serious fight. The gargantuan beast standing beneath the waterfall suddenly rose on its hind legs, pounding its chest like King Kong. Revealing its razor-sharp teeth, it looked extremely intimidating. If Lin Fan did not have the system to reveal its true strength, he might very well have been scared off by this stance. But now, the more the beast posed, the more Lin Fan saw it as a guilty conscience of hiding its true strength. Lin Fan grinned smugly. He appeared instantaneously in front of the beast, leaving a rainbow streak in his path. Raising his head, he taunted, "Just fight if you wanna, stop with the bullshit." Cuck 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 cuck. Chicky spread its wings, trying to fly with Lin Fan as well. But it couldn't, so it could only stand on its original spot and cried out haughtily. The beast lowered its colossal head slowly and glared at Lin Fan, budging not even a single inch. It then moved its hind leg slowly. In a swift motion, it leapt far away into the distance. What the hell? Lin Fan did not know what this beast was up to. This behavior by the beast was extremely puzzling. After the beast leapt far away, it looked at Lin Fan angrily again. Once more, it roared furiously with a look of hatred, as though it was determined to fight Lin Fan to its death. Roar. This roar shook heaven and earth, causing everything around to vibrate. It shot out an explosive aura once more, ready for battle at any moment. Looking at the beast, Lin Fan grinned again. Against a lesser celestial beast, he had utmost confidence of slaying it. Even though your experience points may not be too much, you'll still be a pretty decent thing to spar with. Lin Fan chuckled. The beast glared at Lin Fan in disdain, as though he was nothing much. Shocked at the beast's look, Lin Fan was even more surprised when it turned and ran away immediately. Lin Fan glanced at Chicky. What the FCK? That was it, the beast ran just like that. This was the first time Lin Fan had seen a beast behave like this. Most of the time, even if the beasts were no match for their opponents, they would fight to their deaths. But this beast knew that it was no match for this man and just ran off like that. Lin Fan laughed exasperatedly while shaking his head. Highs, impressive, impressive. Seems like the general intellect of beasts these days have risen considerably. Chicky cried out loudly and haughtily. Hopping up onto Lin Fan's shoulders once more, the man and chicken duo passed through the waterfall and entered within. Upon entering, Lin Fan surveyed his surroundings. This was a cave with glowing red walls, from which a heatwave was emitting continuously. This place was about the size of 2 football fields. The size was just right for the beast which had escaped. Lin Fan strutted forth continuously, only stopping when he came to a stone door. The door was around 10 feet in both length and width. But what attracted Lin Fan was a drawing above the door. The drawing was extremely lifelike. It depicted 7 old men standing around in a circle in weird stances as though they were in the midst of a discussion. Could it be that the legacy left by the 7 Saints treasure map belonged to these 7, and not a single person? Lin Fan had always thought that the 7 Saints treasure map belonged to a single person. But by the looks of this drawing, there should have been 7 of them. Lin Fan placed his hand on the door, looking to feel around for a way to open it. But the moment Lin Fan's hand touched the door, it opened upwards with a loud boom. Lin Fan scratched his head. That was too easy, wasn't it? How was there no resistance at all? This wasn't what Lin Fan had expected. Based on the way things had gone so far, fiery hell was a trial. The lava river was a trial. Even the beast guarding this entrance was a trial of its own. So by right, there should be a trial right here at the entrance as well, shouldn't it? How could it be that there was simply no resistance to this door opening? Could it be that when the 7 of them had created this cave, they had already exhausted all their ideas for trials earlier on? Thus, they could not think up of what to set up here. But little did Lin Fan know that, he was right. Indeed, when the 7 saints were designing the route over here, they did run out of ideas for any traps at this door. Entering the door, it wasn't as dark as Lin Fan had thought. All 4 walls were emitting a warm glow, illuminating this secret room brightly. None of this was anything like Lin Fan's imagination. The walls of the room were uneven and rough, with nothing exceptionally worth noticing. Within this small room, there was only a stone bed and a round stone table. Due to the passage of time, the stone table was entirely covered in dust. Lin Fan checked it out carefully, and found a wooden box on it. He did not know what it was used for, but with the passage of time, there was a rotten stench of decay around it. Lin Fan lifted the box and blew away the dust. Opening the box, he found a pill lying within quietly. Beneath this pill was a piece of paper. The paper was golden entirely. Through the system, Lin Fan found out that this wooden box was made of mystical wood, and even the paper itself was unique. It was made from the thread of a king golden silkworm. Lin Fan had not heard of either of these 2 materials, nor had he seen them ever. Lin Fan read the description on the paper. Potential origins pill. After consumption, one would possess boundless potential. Lin Fan frowned. He had thought that this would be a godly pill to buff someone up, but to think that it was a mere pill to just increase one's potential. This was pretty disappointing. Now that Lin Fan's potential was unlimited thanks to the system, this pill was of practically no use to him. Ding! Congratulations on discovering soul-crushing pill. Soul-crushing pill. Consumption would lead to the immediate disintegration of one's body and death. Lin Fan had just intended to take a look at the pill, but the notification by the system gave him a shock. What the FCK? The paper had described it as a godly pill. Why the hell was the description given by the system entirely different? Highs. Lin Fan sighed. No wonder no traps was awaiting him at the entrance of this door. This place was fraught with dangers. If he had not been warned by the system, he might very well have been tricked to death by this. After placing the pill in his storage, Lin Fan realized that there was actually something on the stone bed. It was a jade-white skeleton sitting cross-legged. Lin Fan rushed forward in astonishment. This jade-white skeleton shimmered with light, giving off an ancient aura. This aura was extremely pressurizing. To think that this person would still carry such an intimidating presence even after his death. Even though there was no trace of flesh or blood after decomposing over time, the skeleton remained pristine with not a slight bit of damage. This must have been one of the 7 saints. He must have been incredibly powerful while he was alive. To think that his bones would remain perfect without even a single bit of dust after so long. Impenetrable, indestructible over the ages. Translator's thoughts. Lamb. Okay, this is the first time I'm having a gripe with this novel. Now, you seriously expect me to believe that a smart man like Lin Fan would have not realized that the legacy of the treasure map belonged to 7 people? Even the names, 7 Saints Treasure Map. Come on now, haha. But that aside, Chicky is the new darling OMG. Ha 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 ha. Chapter 222, let's see who is trickier. Chapter 222, let's see who is trickier. In front of the jade-white skeleton laid a praying mat. This scene looked so familiar to Lin Fan's eyes, as though he'd seen it 1,000 times. Just then, Lin Fan spotted some tiny words inscribed beside the skeleton on the stone bed. These words were no trouble to Lin Fan. Whoever reads this has an affinity with me. Using the praying mat, kowtow for 18,800 times. You will then receive my legacy. Reading these words, Lin Fan looked at the skeleton again and laughed. Haha, no wonder yours truly found this so bloody familiar. Isn't this the exact storyline from Demigods and Semi-Devils? Frankly, if not for that manhood on your skeleton, yours truly would have thought that you're Li Chushui's sister. Lin Fan was extremely used to a development like this. Man, to kowtow 18,800 times, wouldn't that smash someone's head right open or destroy this praying mat entirely? But come on, wasn't the treasure just hidden under the praying mat? What was so difficult about this? Instantly, Lin Fan ripped a hole in the praying mat. Indeed, a golden book laid beneath it. Looking at the material used, this must be the same material from the King Golden Silkworm, to be able to resist corrosion till now. Beside the book, Lin Fan caught sight of another piece of paper. The contents of the paper left Lin Fan in disbelief as he gaped at the skeleton with open jaws. The world has never lacked in talented individuals. After kowtowing your due kowtows, the skeleton which contains this old man's lifelong powers will turn into a current and be transfused to you. If you had broken through forcefully, your thoughts and intents are not pure enough. However, as an appreciation for your effort in making this long journey, this is a Seven Saints Glorious Records book for you. Reading it entirely, Lin Fan could only stand there and blink his eyes dumbly. The only thought that came into his mind right now was to pray to the heavens for another chance. This tricky thing was not trickier than Lin Fan. If he were to pray hard enough, he was sure that his sincerity could break him out of this unfortunate situation right now instead of getting the lesser reward. Your Highness, please give me another chance. Lin Fan howled tragically. The pain he was feeling now over this loss could only be understood by him. He was so close to getting it. Boom. Just then, the secret room began vibrating violently. Behind the jade-white skeleton, a void opened up in thin air. Right under Lin Fan's nose, the skeleton was sucked deep within, disappearing entirely. Your Highness, please don't do this. But it was all too late. Lin Fan realized that even the secret room itself was starting to distort and contort. The stone table and stone bed twisted into a ball and disappeared. Cuckoo! Chicky started crying out on Lin Fan's shoulders. Cut your head. Lin Fan threw Chicky along with the Seven Saints Glorious Records into his storage sack and ran towards the entrance. But the suction from the black void was way too strong. Lin Fan could barely move forward. FCK me. Lin Fan's vision turned black as he drifted into darkness once more. The base of the Mountain of Glory sect's entrance. A series of carriages rushed over as though they had been through countless hardships along the journey, stopping only at the entrance of Glory sect. Mistress, we're here. As the chief housekeeper of the Gong family, it was Wang Hu's responsibility to ensure his mistress's safety. He didn't approve of his mistress's decision to head over to Glory sect. After all, they could not afford to offend Glory sect no matter what. But seeing his mistress's resolute face, Wang Hu could only sigh exasperatedly and follow her orders. From the Mo City to Glory sect was a shortcut. If one were to rush through it, they could arrive within a matter of days. However, the shortcut was treacherous and filled with beasts. In the end, they could only use the safer alternative. Even though this road was safer, the journey was extremely long, and the road was very mountainous and rocky. After more than a month, they had finally arrived at their destination. A jade-like smooth hand reached out from within the carriage and out stepped a peerless beauty. On the face of this beautiful woman was a look of sorrow as well as signs of hesitation. Gong Bingye had a beauty that was unparalleled in this world. However, as a woman, she only had two choices. She would either belong to a powerful man, or she had to possess absolute strength. But to Gong Bingye, the first path was the most suited for her. Even though the Gong family was pretty well-to-do, they weren't strong enough to provide her with indefinite amounts of supplies required for cultivation. Furthermore, she knew herself well. She wasn't born with an extremely talented potential to be groomed into a skilled martial artist. For her to even enter Perselicidal cultivation base had already expended too many resources of the Gong family. Even if she were to continue pushing in this direction, the future was pretty bleak. Mistress, would you consider this? A sect isn't all perfect and wonderful as we outsiders would think it to be. Even though Wang Hu knew that his mistress's heart was firm, he couldn't help himself from cautioning her once more. Gong Bingye smiled gently like a blossoming flower. I've thought it through. The Gong family isn't something a mere maiden like me can shoulder entirely. Wang Hu gripped his fists tightly, lamenting at his helplessness in this situation. He reared his head at those soaring peaks of Glory sect. This was it, the Glory sect that everyone could only dream of entering. Let us head forth, Gong Bingye said. Yes, Wang Hu nodded. For this journey, the Gong family only brought along the guards that had served them for many years. Who are you guys? When Gong Bingye arrived at the main entrance, she was halted by Glory sect disciples who were keeping watch. Kind sirs, my name is Gong Bingye, head of the Gong family of Mo City. My purpose for this journey is to look for Lin Fan, Gong Bingye said calmly. The two disciples who were keeping guard were stunned. Why are you looking for Junior Master Lin? Junior Master Lin had left the sect for 2 months and have yet to return. Gong Bingye once had her doubts about Lin Fan's identity. But upon seeing the reactions of these disciples, she let loose a sigh of relief in her heart. I am Lin Fan's wife, here to look for him. He had told me that I could come by any time. November LBJNN. The two disciples gaped at Gong Bingye. They looked at one another in disbelief. Junior Master Lin's wife, how was this possible? But then, they took another look at Gong Bingye. They couldn't deny that even the female disciples of Jalan Peak might not be a match for her. Other than the big disciple of Jalan Peak, Mu Bingyan, no one else could truly measure up to her beauty. Even though lust should not be present in men of cultivation, which man could truly let go of such mortal emotions? Thinking back, Junior Master Lin was also a man. It wouldn't be surprising if he had let loose a little after he left the sect. Wait a moment, we'll report on this. My gratitude. ... These disciples immediately made haste to inform Senior Elder Wuya of this matter. Ever since Junior Master Lin had left the sect, Senior Elder Wuya had gone down the sect in search of him multiple times in a row, but to no avail. And now that this woman who proclaimed to be Lin Fan's wife was here, this was strange indeed. Wuya could barely eat or sleep much these past 2 months, as he was worried where this kid could have run off to. He had searched 10,000 miles around Glory Sect, but he could not find a single trace of Lin Fan. Especially since this kid could hide his aura entirely without a single trace, Wuya could only give up on his search helplessly. Elder, there's a woman at the entrance claiming to be Lin Fan's wife. The moment Wuya heard these words, he appeared in front of the sect's entrance in a flash, leaving only a rainbow streak behind him. The moment Wuya appeared, he took a close inspection of this woman. Even though Wuya was already 100+ years old and had long grown weary of these mortal affairs, he could not deny that this woman was captivating indeed. Pity her potential wasn't as satisfactory. Whether or not this was that kid's wife, he could not say for certain. After all, if he were as young as Lin Fan, he may have fallen for someone like her as well. Especially someone like that kid. Even though he did not mess around in the sect, Wuya could tell that he wasn't simple or pure. Who knew whether he might have flirted around casually after leaving the sect and left these traces behind? That wasn't impossible as well. After all, even someone like the Grand Master had his fair share of love affairs back when he was younger. But for someone to turn up at the doorsteps just like this was a first for them as well. He must definitely have a good talk with that kid once he got back. Translator's thoughts. Lam. Hi guys. Demigods and Semi-Devils is a classic wuxia novel written by Jin Yong. You guys can Google up for it. And Li Chushui is one of the characters who had gone through a similar trial as such. And goodness, this chapter is actually pretty interesting I'd say. And you can really tell how much Wuya cared for him. I had always believed that Wuya has taken a special liking to Lin Fan like a son or something. Cheers. Chapter 223, Disgrace of a Chicken. Chapter 223, Disgrace of a Chicken. Where am I? Lin Fan shook his head around, trying to clear the daze he was in. His surroundings looked foreign. The floor was made of wooden planks while on the wooden rooftop were hung some hunting equipment and beast skin. Looking out of the windows, the scenery and backdrop were entirely different from where he had been. Checking himself, Lin Fan did not find anything wrong about him. The final scene at the secret room must have been him being teleported out of the place. But the only thing Lin Fan regretted was losing out on the jade white skeleton. Damn it. Lin Fan checked on Chicky as well. It was sleeping peacefully within his storage sack. Well, at least he didn't return from the expedition empty-handed. Even without the 7 Saints treasure map, he had managed to tame a descendant of an ancient beast. What a harvest this was. Lin Fan took out the 7 Saints glorious record. This was the only useful thing he had gotten out of the secret room. By the looks of it, this should be a skill. Ding, congratulations on discovering 7 Saints glorious record. Volume 1, Learn. Ding, congratulations on learning 7 Saint glorious record. Lin Fan could feel an energy source surging through his body. Even though this was volume 1 of the 7 Saint glorious record, the power level was already higher than a heaven upper grade skill. If he could collect all 7 volumes of it, the power he would obtain should be impossible to imagine. Suddenly, the wooden door was pushed open from the outside. Lin Fan squinted his eyes and saw an old man. He wasn't big-sized, and rather a little hunchbacked. Covered with white hair, he didn't look like someone with any evil intent. This old man's cultivation base was not too high, just at a precelestial middle level. But Lin Fan could tell from a single look that his potential was pretty dismal. In fact, the fact that he was even able to be a precelestial with this potential level was already pretty much a miracle in itself. Sir, you're awake. Is there anything you require? The moment the old man saw Lin Fan, he greeted him courteously. Lin Fan chuckled, Old man, you know who I am. Lin Fan knew that under normal circumstances, most people his age would refer to him as a young man or young fella. But the moment this old man entered, he addressed Lin Fan as a sir. This was somewhat unexpected. The old man laughed as well. Sir, I did wander about here and there while I was a young man as well. Therefore, I've got some knowledge of the outside world. By your aura and demeanor, I could tell that you're a pretty extraordinary man. Even though I do not know why you had fainted before our village, I garnered that you must have met with something troublesome. Ha ha, Lin Fan laughed out. Indeed, experience does come with age. But right now, he was quite confused as to where he was. Where is this place? Sir, this is the Yan village, and I'm the village chief, Yan Shanli. A few hundred miles from this place is the Qinshan dynasty. The village chief explained slowly to Lin Fan. When Yan Shanli was a young lad, he used to travel around the place adventurously. However, it was a pity that his potential was limited. Even as he got to his middle ages, his cultivation base still remained at pre-celestial middle level. Realizing that that was the maximum level he could probably get to, he returned to the village with regrets. After the previous village chief passed away, he took on the responsibility and had kept watch over the village ever since. Lin Fan was silent as Yan Shanli was explaining it all. Qinshan dynasty, what the FCK? In the blink of an eye, he had teleported more than 100,000 miles away. Lin Fan had memorized the records within the glory sect by heart. All the places within Dongling continent were recorded within the books, and according to them, the Qin Shengguang dynasty was more than 100,000 miles away from the glory sect. Even fiery hell was just around 10,000 miles away from glory sect. How the hell was he teleported to this place in an instant? But oh well, forget it. Since he was here, it was the same as wherever he would have headed to. The main point was still to get his cultivation base up. Sir, if there's nothing else, I would take my leave. Village Chief Yan said politely. Yes, Lin Fan nodded. The moment Village Chief Yan exited the house, he saw a group of curious kids gathered before the house. Waving his hand, he said softly, "Hush, let's not disturb the honorable sir's rest." The group of children then dispersed and headed off. Lin Fan let out Chicky, who immediately arched its head and cried out, "Cuckoo-cuckoo." Continuously. Lin Fan slapped his head. "Cut your head, shut up." Chicky turned his head to glare at Lin Fan in disdain. It then twerked its ass and walked towards the wooden door. Kicking it open with one claw, it ran out. Lin Fan sat there contemplating his next course of action. He took out the Seven Saints treasure map, and examined it closely before heaving a sigh of relief. There was a forbidden ground close to Qinshan dynasty. So at least he wasn't FCKED too bad after all. Just then, a series of laughter roared from outside. Out of curiosity, Lin Fan headed out. There was a group of children gathered in a circle, pointing and laughing at something. Taking a closer look, Lin Fan frowned. There it was, raising its wings up high, the one and only dear Chicky bullying a rooster so badly that it was lying on the ground, trembling. Puffing his chest and arching his head up, Chicky walked away in pride. A group of hens followed behind him, attracted by this imposing little chicken. Chicky walked towards a hen and circled around her. "Cuckoo-cuckoo." Chicky arched his neck and cried out loudly. The hen spread her wings wide open as well, twerking her backside really high. Just then, Chicky leapt on top of the hen. Using his featherless wings, he covered the hen, as though he was afraid of letting people see what they were up to. Lin Fan was absolutely dumbfounded by this point. What a weird rooster. It doesn't even have a single feather on it. A dumb-looking boy commented, dripping mucus from his nose. Ada's daughter-in-law has been snatched away. Another kid remarked, pointing at the indignant rooster who was still sprawled on the floor due to Chicky. Lin Fan wiped away the beads of sweat on his forehead and hauled Chicky up with 2 fingers, "You disgraceful fella." Chicky cried out loudly. He was just in the middle of getting to something good. "Cuckoo-cuckoo-chickoo. See you your head. Get your A**s back here." Lin Fan tossed Chicky into his storage sack helplessly. Born as a respectable ancient beast, yet he was indulging in such sinful activities such as an extramarital affair with another rooster's daughter-in-law. Where was his dignity and pride? Looking at what Lin Fan just did, all the surrounding children called out excitedly as well. "Uncle, what happened to that rooster? What did you do to it? How did you make it disappear just like that? Where did it go?" Looking at these bustling children, Lin Fan could not help but let out a smile. He then gave out sweets to them. Lin Fan toured the village. It wasn't a big place with probably only 100 residents or so. They survived with what they could, hunting, fishing, etc. It was peaceful and lovely. Towards this foreigner, all the villagers were polite and kind as well. After a week here, Lin Fan felt that it was about time for him to move on. Lin Fan had already planned it all out. His next destination on the Seven Saints treasure map would be the Dead Demon Seas. The Dead Demon Seas laid around 1,000 miles away from the Qinshan dynasty. He would then slowly conquer the rest of the locations indicated on the treasure map one by one. Next day, Village Chief Yan, thank you for your warm accommodation. These are a few pills here. When anyone is injured from hunting beasts or the likes, as long as they were still breathing and alive, these pills can save them for sure. Lin Fan did not have many treasures on hand, but he had quite a number of herbs. Cultivating some pills for these villagers was his way of repaying their kindness. Village Chief Yan was not someone who was ignorant of the ways of the world. When he heard of the effects produced by these pills, he was extremely grateful, thanking Lin Fan profusely. Farewell. We'll meet again if we have the affinity. After bidding farewell, Lin Fan flew into the air towards the distance. Ever since he had broken through to Paracelestial, he had obtained the ability to connect with the true energy of the heavens and earth, allowing him to traverse through the air itself. In other words, fly. Even though the speed wasn't extremely fast, it was still really convenient compared to traveling on foot. Looking at Lin Fan's back view, Village Chief Yan felt a wave of nostalgia. This man reminded him of his youth. Flying above the woods, Lin Fan looked down on the grounds below, heading south. Just then, he spotted a convoy of people down below. But, Lin Fan did not pay much attention to them, speeding up and heading along his way. Translator's thoughts. Lamb. Hello. You guys may have noticed that I have refrained from referring to Chicky's gender in the past few chapters by referring to him as it. And finally in this chapter, the author decides to reveal his gender as a male ha. That's because in Chinese, you can refer to someone without directly indicating their gender, thus I didn't want to infer on my own. Cheers. Chapter 224, Fate Worse Than Death. Chapter 224, Fate Worse Than Death. And your village is just right ahead. A man who was riding on a beast asked coldly. He was dressed in embroidered robes, sporting an air of superiority. Yes, Crown Prince, it's just right ahead. The man who was following beside young Master Zhou answered hurriedly. Very well, if such a creature does exist, then I will guarantee you a lifetime of riches. Zhou Sheng's eyes glinted coldly. If the creature were for real, it would be extremely beneficial in aiding him to fight for the throne. In the Qinshan dynasty, there were dozens of crown princes. If one sought to stand out for the throne, not only did he have to be cunning, he also had to have actual fighting strength. Crown Prince, then about the conditions of requested from you. The man who was leading the way cowered and asked hesitantly. But the thought of being able to enjoy a lifetime of riches was having him salivating. HMPH, once I get what I'm here for, you'll get your due rewards. But, you do know the consequences if I find out that you're lying to me, right? Zhou Sheng was one of the crown princes vying for the throne. This country bumpkin here had stopped him along his way, claiming that there was a treasure for him, hoping to get something good in return for it. To someone like Zhou Sheng, he could easily give off rewards in gold. But to think that a treasure would be hidden in this village was pretty unbelievable. Yes, Prince. Don't worry, every single word I spoke of was the truth. The man replied anxiously. That had better be the case. Zhou Sheng nodded his head and waved his hands forth. Move on. A group of fearsome soldiers clad in black armor followed behind Zhou Sheng. At the entrance of the Yan village, a group of children were playing around when before their very eyes appeared a group of soldiers. Some of the older kids ran off immediately to inform the adults. Upon hearing the news, Village Chief Yan hurried over quickly. When he saw the group of people gathered outside, his face changed. Even more so when he saw who it was who was leading them. Unfilial son, how dare you return? Village Chief Yan hollered angrily, his face flushed red. The man standing amongst the black soldiers lowered his head shamefully, not daring to make any eye contact with the village chief. Zhou Sheng laughed coldly as he sat atop his ferocious beast, handed over obediently. Lin Fan had already flown tens of miles away from the village, but he could not shake off this feeling that something was amiss. In a place as secluded as this, how could there be such a big group of people? Just what were they up to? Besides, the direction they seemed to be heading towards was the Yan village. Worried, Lin Fan turned around and headed back. No matter what, he had to verify for himself what the situation was. Even if there were nothing wrong, he'd only have a peace of mind if he had seen it for himself. Since he had already passed by them, he might as well check it out. If there were truly nothing wrong, then he'd just get going along his way as well. The closer Lin Fan got to the Yan village, the more he realized that the skies seemed to be glowing red, with a stench of blood spreading through the air. Lin Fan's heart tightened as he frowned. Was there really something wrong? He pushed forward even faster. Just then, he heard sorrowful cries ringing through the skies. Curses, swears, anger, they all entered Lin Fan's ears. Lowering his head, Lin Fan couldn't help but fume within his heart. He gritted his teeth angrily and spat out a single word. B****. Old man, you had better hand it over. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee the life of this child. Zhou Sheng laughed coldly, holding a long sword in his hand, its tip resting on a child's neck. It was as though the moment village chief Yan said the word no, this kid would cease to exist. You bunch of B****stards. Village chief Yan roared furiously. HMPH. Instantaneously, a human head flew up into the skies. Wringing his wrist, Zhou Sheng sliced the flying head into 4 to 5 pieces with his sword will. Blood spurted across the air at this cruel scene. Old man, just hand the thing over to the crown prince. You'll also receive quite a bit of riches, unless you're wishing for death as well. The man who had led the way was also shocked at this development. He had not expected the crown prince to be this cold-hearted. Shut up, unfilial son. Village chief Yan glared at Yan Shang with bloodshot eyes. Seems like you're not giving in then, Alright then, this girl here seems to be 13 to 14 years old at best. What a tender and ripe age. You can have her, hey Shan. Zhou Sheng laughed coldly and unsympathetically. Thank you, crown prince. Just then, a soldier in black walked out while grinning. He was extremely large, almost the size of a bear. With a thirsty look in his eyes, he glared at the little girl who was cowering on the floor while trembling. Laughing wildly, he pulled her over. You guys are demons. Who's the stone-hearted one here? Seems like you're still not willing to give it out, old man. Zhou Sheng said callously, following up with a flash of light. The little girl who was held under Heishang had her head separated from her neck. A stream of blood spurted from where her head once rested, spraying across the ground as her body laid limp in this harrowing scene. I'll fight you guys to death. Village chief Yan howled as he rushed forth. But in the eyes of Zhou Sheng, he was nothing but an ant. Slicing down diagonally from his shoulders, Zhou Sheng cut down on village chief Yan harshly. A tragic cry rang through the skies. Even Yan Shang, who was viewing this, was starting to tremble uncontrollably. Crown Prince, this is my father. Could you? Yan Shang was fearful. Hee. From this day on, you'll enjoy riches you could only ever dream of. What other use is there for this old man? Unless you wanna die in his place, A murderous look flashed by Zhou Sheng's face as he laughed maniacally. This feeling, this was it. The feeling of being able to control the life and death of all these people around here was just the best there was. Yes, Yan Shang stuttered. You're right, Crown Prince. Yan Shang was the son of village chief Yan. He had long known that there was a treasure passed down from generations to generations by the ancestors of the Yan village, only to be protected by the village chief. Yan Shang then had a tainted thought to steal this treasure to sell in the cities in exchange for riches. But after several failed attempts, he was discovered by his father. He was then exiled out of the village. Reaching Qinshan dynasty, he then had an idea to sell out the secret. To Yan Shang, this must definitely be a priceless treasure. Therefore, he couldn't seek the help of any common man for this. But, there was no way he would ever be granted an audience with the ruler of the dynasty. Thus, after camping for a period of time, he finally caught sight of Crown Prince Zhou Sheng. Stop right there. Just then, a streak of rainbow flashed through the skies. Lin Fan looked at the surroundings, feeling his blood run cold. Who the FCK would do something like this? Just like that, all the residents of the village laid around, massacred. Furthermore, none of the bodies were whole. They were all in bits and pieces. Just what sort of a sick B****stard would do something so heinous? Not even the children were spared. Damn it, sir. In village chief Yan's eyes flashed a single sparkle of hope the moment he caught sight of Lin Fan. Struggling with whatever remaining strength he had, he clawed against the ground to Lin Fan. With a pair of trembling hands, he gripped Lin Fan's pants with everything he had. Sir, the lowly me has a treasure that I've been keeping guard over generations for the village. It is hidden beneath the wooden hut you were in. I'm willing to give it to you, sir. Please, I only beg. I beg of you, please avenge all the 100 dead villagers I failed to protect. Village chief Yan choked dismally, shedding tears down his eyes. As he finished, he jerked and breathed his last. Standing there, Lin Fan was trembling with rage, his eyes shut tightly. The moment he opened his eyes, the skies changed. A never-before-seen aura erupted from Lin Fan's body. N-O-V-E in .c Ohm. Very well, I will let you know what's a fate worse than death. Translator's thoughts. Lam. I think this was a pretty emotional chapter. This chapter really brought back the memories of how Saint Devil sect got destroyed so suddenly. It really went from 0 to 100 in an instant. Wow. Chapter 225. If I had to kill, even I would be afraid of myself. Chapter 225. If I had to kill, even I would be afraid of myself. That was the second time in his life Lin Fan had felt such fury. The first time was when his sect had been destroyed, and he saw the death of his 3 senior brothers before his very eyes. And this was the second time. A bunch of B***stards who didn't deserve to be called humans massacring an entire village all for a treasure they had not even an inkling about. The skies rumbled furiously as the tension in the air grew at an electrifying rate. Even though Lin Fan did not put much effort into cultivating his sword techniques specifically, his achievements in them were not to be taken lightly either. Will of the Sword, King of Swords and Firmament Sword, these 3 different sword techniques allowed Lin Fan to combine their essence into an entirely unique sword will belonging to only him. Without any wind from the surroundings, Lin Fan was already building up a wall of sword will around himself. Rocks, trees, grass, sand, everything was vibrating violently against the earth, as though there was an unknown force attracting and pulling onto them. The beast Crown Prince Zhou Sheng was riding on prostrated on the ground, struggling immensely and crying out terribly. It was so scared that it didn't dare to budge an inch, and just kept trembling. For the sake of riches and power, you massacred an entire village of innocent people. There is no place in this world for someone like you. Lin Fan opened his mouth slowly, pointing a finger at the terrified Yan Shang. Yan Shang looked at everything in fright. His legs wouldn't stop trembling. He wanted to say something so badly to refute this, to explain what was happening, but he was so scared he couldn't at all. And when he saw the man pointing a finger at him, he could feel his heart stopping. No, instantly, Yan Shang was caged in sword wool, covering his entire body. The razor-sharp sword wool ripped Yan Shang's body. Under the fearful gazes of the masses, Yan Shang's body began disintegrating slowly and gradually. Eventually, he disappeared entirely into thin air, leaving no trace behind. Zhou Sheng was dumbfounded. The long sword he was holding in his hand began to tremble with his arm. He did not know who this man was, but he knew that this wasn't someone he could match up against. Who are you? Even though Zhou Sheng's heart was flustered, he had to put on a tough front. I am a crown prince of the Qinshan dynasty. November LBJNN. Lin Fan glared at him silently. Senior, these are just mere country villagers. Their lives are worth nothing more than ants. Zhou Sheng was panicking in his heart, trying to think of the best way to pacify this man who gave off such a dangerous feeling. He had not expected to invoke the wrath of such a powerful man over killing some mere country bumpkins. Looking at this incensed young man, none of the black soldiers dared to speak either. Lin Fan caught sight of the young girl who was ravaged by the black soldier earlier on, and her lifeless body now, his eyes burning with boundless fury. He pointed his finger. He Shang collapsed onto his knees, wailing while gripping tightly at his crotch area. Zhou Sheng tumbled onto the floor, crawling towards Lin Fan and prostrating himself before him. Stuttering and gulping, he looked at Lin Fan. Senior. I'm sorry. This was my bad. Please give me another chance. Please. I'm sure my father will reward you handsomely. Even though Zhou Sheng was a crown prince of the Qinshan dynasty, he could not care less about his image right now. The only thing on his mind was to keep his life in the face of this man's wrath. Lin Fan looked at Zhou Sheng. Paracelestial cultivation base. In an instant, he recalled back to the times when he was at the Great Yan dynasty. Back then, the Yan Emperor's cultivation base was indeed insurmountable to someone like him. But to the current Lin Fan, it was nothing much. Even though the other party was a crown prince who could look down on others with just status alone, in front of the current Lin Fan, he was nothing much. A light flashed through, as though the heavens were split open. After the flash, Zhou Sheng and all the black soldiers collapsed onto the ground, gripping their crotches tightly and crying out in pain. Blood gushed out, staining their crotch areas blood red. In a single move, tens of eunuchs were born. Lin Fan had no intention of negotiating with these B***stards. He only wanted to torment them. If he killed them in a single strike, that would be way too merciful to these FCKERS. Lin Fan wanted to let them understand that to seek death in front of him was going to be harder than ascending the heavens. Lin Fan's sword will materialized into a 10 feet long sword. The sword pierced through the shoulders of Zhou Sheng and the others, skewering them together in a row like a barbecue stick. It then flew up into the skies, dragging them along with it. Lin Fan did not bother with their agonized wails as fresh blood filled the skies. Lin Fan walked over to the hut of village chief Yan, slamming his hands onto the ground. The earth shuddered as the ground crumbled and collapsed. Within the newly formed hole, Lin Fan found a wooden box floating gently, giving off a weird glow. Mystical wood. This was the same material as the box he had found in the secret room. When Lin Fan opened the box, he found a white pill with a godly aura, giving off a mild fragrant scent which invigorated the energy of anyone who breathed it in. Just like back in the secret room, a note laid beneath the pill. Looking at it, Lin Fan let out a cold laugh. I have allowed the Yan village to keep watch over this treasure for generations to come. Now that it is stolen, this is within the calculations of this old man as well. This is a pill which revolts against the heavens and can change the course of nature. Please use it wisely so as to not disgrace the name of the 7 saints. These words flowed like poetry, yet Lin Fan could only laugh at the irony of it all. Calculated. Indeed, this was all calculated and predicted. After all, which of these powerful beings were simple beings to begin with? If not for yours truly's system, he might really have been tricked by them as well. Lin Fan laughed coldly, gripping onto the white pill. There was no free lunch in this world indeed. Which one of those divine beings was not a crafty, sneaky old fox? How could they just bless the world after they had passed on? It was every man for himself, and these divine beings were no different. He had premeditated this from the ancient times till this day. Woof, woof. Just then, a black dog appeared before Lin Fan, barking while trembling uncontrollably. Lin Fan looked at the dog and smiled coldly. The dog's limbs were trembling as it slowly floated towards Lin Fan. Since you sent yours truly this series of premeditated, natural, events, let yours truly create a new nature for you as well. Opening his palms, the white heaven revolting life-changing godly pill floated into the dog's mouth. Lin Fan then placed the dog into his storage sack, no longer speaking about the event. Using his sword will, he lifted the bodies of the villagers one by one, placing them gently into the hole he had created. Old man, yours truly is a man who repays what he owes, be it gratitude or vengeance. Rest assured, the Qinshan dynasty must perish. Waving his hands, Lin Fan filled up the hole with soil and mud, creating even ground once more. Approaching Zhou Sheng and the others, Lin Fan had nothing more to say. He flew towards the direction of the Qinshan dynasty. Let me go, I'm the crown prince of the Qinshan dynasty. You'll regret this. Zhou Sheng howled wildly. The pain was writhing through his entire body. He had not expected to incur the wrath of such a horrifying figure for just killing a bunch of ants. Flying through the air, Lin Fan's gaze was stone cold. Behind him was a bunch of B** stars strung up by his sword, following him. Lin Fan did not like to kill. But if he were angered enough to kill, even he would be afraid of himself. Translator's thoughts. Lamb. Hi guys, this is an extremely challenging chapter to translate and it's full of developments. I would like to let you know that in the RAWs, the author himself was explaining that he had no choice but to put in this development into the storyline. Because the story took yet another dark turn once again. So a few things I would like to clarify. First is a language issue. Now, for this part of the sentence in the note under the pill, this is within the calculations of this old man as well. This old man is referring to one of the 7 saints as he referred to himself in a third-person POV. Alright, now for the important portions. I hope that I managed to convey the meaning accurately enough, but as some of you sharper readers may have understood by now, the 7 saint had planned for this village to be destroyed one day in the future. This is why Lin Fan was laughing at the irony of it all, that these guys were only just thinking for themselves even at the point of their deaths. And to think that these innocent villagers from the Yan village had protected it wholeheartedly, thinking that it was a treasure, but little did they know that the 7 saint had known that placing this in their hands would someday cause the death of all their descendants over someone trying to obtain it. So they were just being used from the very start. From this, we can then infer that perhaps the pill is something that contains the 7 saint's soul or something, so he meant for it to be discovered so that someone could consume it and he could take over the person's body or something along those lines. This is all just guesswork on my part, and how the story goes on from here is anyone's guess because they did not clearly indicate what was the description Lin Fan saw for himself within the system. But I hope that this helps to clarify what's happening, and wow, the story really just gets better as it goes on. Chapter 226, Injustice for the Masses. Chapter 226, Injustice for the Masses. The Qinshan dynasty was built over 1,000 years ago, led by the great Zhou Qinshan, a man so fearsome he was titled Death God by the masses. At this very moment, the Qinshan dynasty was bustling with excitement. Two great sects were present in the Qinshan dynasty to recruit disciples. This grand affair was something which only happened once in 10 years in the Qinshan dynasty. Tongtian sect and Shanling sect were the two powerhouses closest to the Qinshan dynasty. Most of the disciples in these two great sects came from the Qinshan dynasty. Thus, both sects maintained a close relationship with the dynasty. Within the Qinshan palace's huge outer halls, a fighting ring was erected using limestone, spanning 10 feet in both length and width. Two members of the royal family were sparring in the ring. Beneath this great fighting ring sat the Qin emperor along with representatives from the two sects, observing the sparring side by side. Tongtian sect resided in the middle of a gigantic ocean. Legends had it that Tongtian sect was mounted on the shell of a 10,000-year-old turtle, but no one knew of the truth. On the other hand, Shanling sect, just like Xuanjian sect, only accepted female disciples. There were countless of princesses within the royal family. For these princesses, being selected to enter Shanling sect would mean being able to break free from an otherwise predetermined life for them. Qin Emperor, the princes and princesses this time round are pretty decent, Tongtian sect's representative was an elder of the inner sect in charge of disciple affairs. The potential of the Qinshan dynasty's ancestor, Zhou Qinshan, was extremely high. As such, there was a high chance that one of their descendants would also possess similar and high-quality caliber due to these good genes. You flatter us, Elder Huang. Qin Emperor laughed jovially. He was heartened to hear Elder Huang's praises. Qin Emperor, what happened to that arrogant and haughty young man 10 years ago? Huang Bang asked laughingly. Back when he was here to recruit 10 years ago, a young lad did attract his attention. You must be referring to my dear Shang. Yes. Highs, that boy is only focused on the ways of politics, dabbing in incessant quarrels with his brothers all day long and neglecting his cultivation. Therefore, he is only at a paracelestial cultivation base right now. Not bad still. If only he had returned with us back to the sect 10 years ago and focused on his training, with his potential, he would definitely have had a bright future. Elder Huang said with a tinge of regret. However, to be able to cultivate to a paracelestial was still a pretty decent achievement. The elder of Shanling sect who had not spoken previously suddenly commented, that kid is decent. Qin Emperor looked over in her direction and chuckled, yes, Shui Yun. That kid's potential is pretty decent. Both of the elders were just like old women doing their shopping in the marketplace, taking their picks at the groceries available. The Qin Emperor was also agreeable with this arrangement of the sects picking out disciples from the royal family. After all, he was only a middle-aged man with 3,000 concubines in his harem. As such, he naturally had quite a number of children. Dozens of kids would be born each year. Putting a few of them into the sects to be groomed wasn't a bad idea as well. This was a better option compared to having all of them vie for power and authority in the future when they grew up, creating a noisy mess in the royal family. Prince Tang Long. Victory. The spar was over. A young man, who seemed to be 12 to 13 years old, had sent his family member flying down the ring while spitting out blood along the way. Raising both hands, he looked down at the fallen person with eyes of contempt. Who else wants a go at taking the title of number 1 in this year's sparring? If you're indignant, come on up. Tang Long stood in the ring, shouting out arrogantly. Looking at this scene, the Qin Emperor shook his head. I am presenting a disgraceful scene for the two elders present. No worries. This kid is decent. Elder Huang laughed while nodding in approval. This kid had a good potential. He would grow up to be a talent. Even though Tang Long was only 12 to 13 years old, he had a vicious nature. For the sake of training himself, he had murdered countless prisoners in prison with his bare hands. His cry of arrogance was filled with murderous intent, sending shivers down the spine of his other brothers and sisters taking part in the sparring. His murderous nature is too strong. Elder Yin of Shanling sect shook her head. Suddenly, the Qin Emperor and both elders stood up immediately. They gazed at the distant skies while frowning. They could feel an intermittent force traveling towards them from the distant skies. Along with it were muffled cries and wails. Lin Fan had arrived at the skies of the Qinshan dynasty with Zhou Sheng and the others. Catching sight of the royal palace, Lin Fan hastened. Zhou Sheng and the others were delighted to see the place that Lin Fan had brought them to. But in the midst of their tragic cries and the tormenting pain, they could not say anything else. When the Qin Emperor finally made out what was happening, his expression changed entirely. He calmed himself down before asking. May I know who this sir is? Why have you harmed my son? The Qin Emperor looked at Zhou Sheng, who was behind Lin Fan. Blood was dripping all along the way, and his life force was weak, as though he was mere inches from death's door. The royal family members who were taking part in the sparring took a look into the skies as well. When they saw what was happening, they let out shrieks of distress. They knew who this man being dragged was. This was their older brother, Crown Prince Zhou Sheng. In the crowd, some people were worried while others were secretly overfilled with joy. As the number one in the sparring, Tang Long was immersed in the attention of the masses. But who was this guy who had appeared out of nowhere, stealing his limelight? He was naturally displeased. But when he raised his head and realized that the man who was held captive was his brother, he roared out as well, "Thief! Let go of my older brother." Elder Huang frowned and stepped forward. "What is the matter, sir? Could we discuss this peacefully?" "Who is the Qin Emperor?" Lin Fan asked coldly. "I am your majesty." The Qin Emperor locked eyes with Lin Fan, a fire gradually burning within him as well. "He has massacred 108 innocent villagers. How do you want to settle this?" Lin Fan asked. Upon hearing these words, the Qin Emperor was taken aback. He had thought that it was some earth-shattering major event that had happened. But to think that it was just over a trivial issue as such. These villagers didn't even belong to the Qinshan dynasty. So what if they were killed? But looking at the other party's disposition, this issue might not get resolved that easily. Could he have had any relation with the villagers? Was that why he was seeking vengeance? Elder Huang frowned as well. Massacring 108 innocent villagers, that was a little overboard indeed. "Thief! Let go of my older brother. It's just a bunch of ants living in the mountains. So what if they're dead? If you don't release him, I'll take your dog life." Tang Long, the young kid who was just 12 to 13 years old, roared at Lin Fan insolently. Even though his age was tender, his capabilities were one in many in the royal family. Using the word genius to describe him was an understatement as well. In this selection sparring, he was aiming to enter the sects. Given his potential, as long as he received grooming from a sect, it was only a matter of time before he became somebody significant. Ants. Lin Fan locked his eyes onto this young kid. He then let out a bitter and cruel laugh. When one possesses power and stands above, he can view everyone else as ants. To you, those villagers may be mere ants. But to yours truly, you are a mere ant as well. You have some decent potential. But to be so impudent before you're even a grown man is to seek death. Lin Fan's killing intent burst out as his aura filled the entire royal palace. HMPH. This is the Qinshan dynasty. You better let go of my older brother and prostrate where you are, you thief. Otherwise, I'll make you suffer and beg for death. Tang Long hollered at Lin Fan with not a fear for this world. Lin Fan's eyes glinted. Keeping someone like you alive would be an injustice to the innocent masses in the future. Translator's thoughts. Lamb. I guess we can truly see how the destruction of Saint Devil sect has left its lingering scars within Lin Fan, guys. Chapter 227, A Most Brutal Whacking. Chapter 227, A Most Brutal Whacking. Stop. In an instant, Elder Huang turned into a rainbow and stood before Tang Long, blocking the path towards him. He could feel the killing intent emanating from Lin Fan. Tang Long's potential was good, and Tongtian sect needed someone like him. Elder Huang could not let him just die right here. Lin Fan floated in the air calmly, staring down at the masses with cold eyes. The aura he was giving off was extremely repressive, causing immense pressure on those below. Even though Elder Huang did not know what Lin Fan's background was, he knew for sure that this man was far from ordinary. Lin Fan curled his finger. The skewered Zhou Sheng slid down from the air and landed onto the fighting ring. Shing! A long sword materialized from Lin Fan's sword will flew down from the heavens, stabbing through Zhou Sheng's body and pinning him onto the fighting ring. Zhou Sheng's life force disappeared instantly. Everyone stared dumbstruck at the scene in extreme disbelief. HMPH. Lin Fan flicked his robes and looked down frostily. This man deserves it. Everyone from Tongtian sect and Shanling sect looked at the man floating in the skies with hesitation. This man's aura was strong, yet none of them could make out anything about him nor his cultivation base. But they knew one thing for sure, anyone who could materialize sword will into a physical object was definitely far from weak. Bam! The Qin Emperor who had been standing all this while was furious. With the swing of his fist, he smashed the jade dragon chair he was sitting on into dust. How dare you kill the son of your majesty? No matter how big this world is, there is no room for your brazen behavior. Elder Huang, Elder Yin, please give me a hand in taking down this man. The Qin Emperor did not dare to act brashly. As this man dared to come alone to the royal palace and kill his son before his very eyes, he must be having what it took. Throughout the rise of the Qinshan dynasty in the past 1,000 years, no one had dared to show such impudence. If he did not take down this man, how could the Qinshan dynasty still have any footing in the future? Elder Huang and Elder Yin glanced at one another. The two sects enjoyed a close relationship with the Qinshan dynasty. Therefore, they naturally couldn't just sit still and do nothing about this. Tang Long could only grit his teeth angrily while looking at this man in the sky. His elder brother had died just like that. Damn it. I'm afraid you have gone overboard with your actions, sir. Please leave yourself behind to answer for this. Elder Huang looked at Lin Fan coldly. The Qinshan dynasty has been friends with my sect for the past 1,000 years. Now that you have come to cause trouble, I'm afraid I can't just let this pass, sir. If things are going to be like this, then you can't blame me for taking action. Elder Yin's face was harsh. Even though it was not right for the crown prince to massacre the innocents, this wasn't a big deal anyways. This is a dog-eat-dog world where it's survival of the fittest. If they're dead, so be it. It's not as though they could be revived. Lin Fan, who was floating in the skies, laughed coldly. Good one. Survival of the fittest Well said. Since that's the case, shut your bullshit. Yours truly will take all of you down one by one then. Lin Fan went all out. With firmament sword, and will of the sword, behind his back, Lin Fan held the 9-5 legendary brick in his left hand and the eternal axe in his right. Behind him floated the faceless sky devil, with 3 heads and 6 arms, along with a malevolent face, looking down like a raging torrent. Lin Fan's aura exploded throughout the entire place. For every battle, Lin Fan was sure to bring out all he had. Even if the opponent were a weakling, Lin Fan would not hold back. After all, if he did not bring out his true strength, then what was the use of training to be so strong? If the tides were in his favor, he would ride them. And if the tides were against him, he would stay calm. But by the looks of today, whether or not they were in his favor, he was going to ride them out. What's this? Looking at Lin Fan's stance, Elder Huang felt flustered for a moment. This was the first time he had come across someone who could wield so many different auras and stances. Furthermore, each and every one of these skills was frightening in their own rights. Qin Emperor, together please. Elder Yin was intimidated as well by this man's aura. By the looks of it, this man has mastered various heaven upper graded skills. And in their eyes, this was nothing short of impossible. For a normal person to master even one heaven upper graded skill would take him at least tens of years. Very well, Qin Emperor roared furiously as well, darting at Lin Fan with all he had murderously. Lin Fan could only laugh coldly in the face of all this. That's right, come here. I'll let you understand the meaning of true horror. Lin Fan exploded. He was determined to take down every single person before his very eyes. Activating stealth, Lin Fan's body appeared intermittently. All 3 of them were stunned at this, stopping in their tracks momentarily. What in the world was this? How did he do all these? Slay. The skies changed as the eternal axe swung down at Elder Huang. A single slice contained such tremendous force that the entire void was ripped apart. Elder Huang's face turned pale as a sheet. Shifting his body, he barely dodged the blow by a hair's length. Lin Fan laughed coldly at his futile attempt and activated his sword will. The 3-headed and 6-armed demon wielded a sword and swung down across the void, striking towards Elder Huang once more. Elder Yin, Qin Emperor. What are you waiting for? Elder Huang could barely do anything. The opponent was way too strong. He was having his hands full just dodging and blocking attacks, having no time to retaliate. Terrifying. This man was way too terrifying. Elder Huang had never ever met someone with such a fighting style. And in fact, fighting Lin Fan didn't seem like a one-on-one. Elder Huang felt like he was fighting against 3 men alone. Those sword wills floating behind his back were constantly disappearing and reappearing from the void. Furthermore, the faceless sky demon was like a living creature of its own, wielding 6 long swords with all of its arms, slicing through the thin air everywhere. But the thing which was keeping Elder Huang on his toes was the item this man was wielding in his left hand. He had not used it even once, as though he was biding time for the right moment. All of these gave Elder Huang immense pressure. The stunned Elder Yin and Qin Emperor broke out of their stupor and rushed towards Lin Fan. Clang! Lin Fan's attack was like a torrential rush, flooding towards Elder Huang fiercely. Elder Huang's face was extremely terrible as he struggled to hang on with both hands. Lin Fan laughed coldly. How many hands do you have? Elder Huang was puzzled, apparently lost by Lin Fan's words. But he would find out the meaning of them in the next instant. Lin Fan's swift leg broke through time and space, seemingly cutting through the void of life, launching itself at Elder Huang's crotch. Ah! Elder Huang cried out tragically, dropping the weapon in his hands. He could only manage to grab at his crotch now, enduring an unprecedented brutality on his nuggets. But before Elder Huang could even recover from the mere shock of it all, a red flash appeared as the 9-5 legendary brick was swung fiercely onto Elder Huang's skull. Elder Huang's consciousness sunk into pitch-black darkness. Twisting his wrist, Lin Fan sent a sword wool, piercing through Elder Huang's body, pinning him to the ground. Lin Fan did not have the intention of taking his dog life though. Ding! Congratulations on defeating lesser celestial lower level Huang Bangdiang. Ding! Experience points plus 2 million. Elder Yin, who was rushing forward, came to a momentary halt, with a look of fear and hesitation in her eyes. Please hold up, sir. But Lin Fan did not care for her pleas. With the swing of his axe, the void was ripped apart once more. Swordwool appeared and materialized behind him with the faceless sky demon swinging its 6 swords, dancing in the air. Just then, the Qin Emperor struck with a palm strike. But, Lin Fan could not even be bothered to turn around. He couldn't care less if this guy continued raining blows on him. Elder Yin was pale as a sheet. The smile on this man was evil and horrifying. Balls kicking. A kick to destroy one's humanity, a kick without any single room for morals of the world. Based on Lin Fan's experimentation, this skill worked on both males and females. The crotch area was filled with nerves. Arming his leg with true energy to boot, the power was beyond imagination. Ah! A crisp, high-pitched voice rang through the skies. But before Elder Yin could even finish her cry, Lin Fan slapped the brick onto her head, having the latter descend into darkness as well. Elders. Disciples from both sects were appalled at this scene. Looking at how easily their elders were defeated by this man, they were all rooted on the spot. Strong. Deadly strong. This man was way too strong. There wasn't even any room for retaliation. Ding! Congratulations on defeating lesser celestial lower level Yin Hong. Ding! Experience points plus 2 million. Lin Fan turned his gaze towards the Qin Emperor, who was still trying to inflict a bit of damage on Lin Fan. You done. Lin Fan's physical body state was that of a lesser celestial as well. It wasn't something these guys could take down that easily. The Qin Emperor's face changed. Chapter 228. Mistakes of the Conniving Schemer. Chapter 228. Mistakes of the Conniving Schemer. Sir, this matter. Right, it's all the Qinshan dynasty's fault. I hope. The Qin Emperor had realized the error in his ways. This man was simply way too strong. To think that even Elder Huang and Elder Yin would not be his match. Hope your mother. Lin Fan roared furiously. Swinging down his axe, the Qin Emperor's face changed as he tried to block with everything he had. Despite that, he was slammed backward by the tremendous impact of it all, crashing deeply into the jade limestone fighting ring like a kite which had been cut off. Lin Fan was like a god as he descended slowly onto the ring. Below him, all the disciples from both sects did not dare to let out a single sound. Their elders had been defeated right before their very eyes, and even right now, no one knew if they were alive or dead. Everyone was filled with fear. The royal family disciples were even more fearful. In the dynasty, they were below no one. But the events of this day would forever leave a dark scar within their hearts. Lin Fan walked in front of Tang Long. Those cold eyes of his had Tang Long in a fluster within his heart. It was as though he was being choked by someone and gasping for air. What do you want? On that mighty and arrogant face of Tang Long slipped out a trace of fear. What did you say earlier on? Lin Fan asked calmly. The faceless sky demon behind Lin Fan snarled continuously with its malevolent face, like a demon from hell. Tang Long swallowed his saliva. Even though he was only 12 to 13 years old, his intellect was more mature than most. He was a genius in the Qinshan dynasty, and he would be a genius no matter which sect he entered. That fact was undeniable. Under the adulation from everyone, he had long since abandoned any form of regard for the common masses. To Tang Long, even his father or any of the sects he would enter were just a stepping stone. Compared to him, none of them were on the same level. He had great and lofty ambitions for himself. But to think that he would be viewed with such eyes by this man before him, making him question his worth. This was something that Tang Long could not tolerate. However, in the face of all this, Tang Long could only grit his teeth harshly. There was no avenue for him to release the indignance he was suffering from. Today, you are the ant before my very eyes. What more do you have to say? Lin Fan asked coldly. Listening to this, Tang Long was totally enraged. Without hesitation, he looked at Lin Fan with his tiny little face. You're older than me. Thus, you have a higher cultivation base than me. I acknowledge that, but if you dare to give me a couple of years to grow, I'll make sure to destroy you with my very hands and wish that you were never born. Hearing this, Lin Fan let out a smile. Countless scenarios played out in his mind. In all of the novels he had read, which one of the protagonists weren't hot-headed and stubborn? At the same time, which one of the villains weren't morons? No matter how vicious they were, they would still look at the masses with disdain, underestimating them and buying into words like these from the protagonists. Few years. Just a few years. I'll grant it to you then. But after those few years, all of the villains without fail would be crushed severely by the sudden leap in power of the protagonist. That was how all the stories played out to be. Even though Lin Fan refused to see himself as the villain, the scene playing before him did not seem right. Are those villagers ants in your eyes? Lin Fan asked once more. Tang Long was silent. He looked as though he was planning something. He then laughed out loudly. Ants are ants. No matter how you phrase it, they can never turn over a new leaf. As such, a kill is just a mere kill. Are you fearful for your own future right now? You're scared, right, that in a few years' time, I'm going to surpass you and destroy you cruelly. Tang Long did not just spend his time cultivating his martial arts, he also spent a lot of time delving into the manipulation of the human heart. This man before him was way too strong, so strong that even his father or the two elders weren't his match. But that was not what Tang Long thought. He knew that the stronger one was, the weirder their personalities would be. He knew that for this man to head here seeking vengeance over a few village ants, he must be a kind-hearted soul. In the eyes of everyone else, he was just a 12 to 13-year-old kid. Just a child. Based on the other party's personality, he probably wouldn't go all the way out against him. After all, it was something utterly intolerable for someone to kill a child. Retaining his personality, he said these words without fear or worry. Perhaps the other party might even feel something towards him and take him in as a disciple with the thought of bringing him towards the path of righteousness. Furthermore, this man seemed ridiculously strong. Especially that demon thing that was floating behind him. If Tang Long could learn it for himself, then he would definitely be extremely strong. He would endure this moment of humiliation for his chance to strike. Tang Long understood with a 100% confidence that the man before him would not do anything untoward to him. In fact, he even gauged the chance of himself being taken in as a disciple with his unrelenting attitude at 70%. Each and every one of these moments were moments of opportunity for Tang Long. The only reason why he wanted to join a sect was to make himself stronger. He would become so strong one day that he could easily dominate over the weak masses. By the looks of it, this man was way stronger than any of the sects. So why not take the chance to follow him if he could? Once he had learned everything there was to this man and rendered himself stronger than him, he would then kill this man with his very own skills. Wasn't that humiliation at its best? Lin Fan's mouth twitched as he smiled once more. Looking at the other party smiling, Tang Long was overwhelmed with joy in his heart. 3 years, just 3 years and I'll seek you out to crush you. Do you dare? Tang Long stared at Lin Fan without any bit of fear. Within that face was even a look of overbearingness. He was just waiting for that single sentence from Lin Fan. What is 3 years to me? 10 years, 100 years, so be it. Yours truly will keep you by my side and watch you struggle futilely. That was the single sentence Tang Long was waiting for. As long as this man was willing to say it, Tang Long swore to the gods that his death would not be too far off. With his own potential, he was sure that he could learn everything there was to this man in those 3 years. Not only that, he would even train up his cultivation base on the sly in the dark and eventually kill this man off. But what came after was not something Tang Long expected. A blinding flash. Lin Fan struck out with his palm. Tidal push was unleashed, as 13 folds of strength exploded out from within. Bam! Tang Long's small body flew across the ring and landed on the other end. All his bones and internal organs were ripped apart and broken. Using his remaining strength, he raised his finger, you. And then, he breathed his last. Lin Fan laughed coldly and looked at him. 3 years. How many people would have died in these 3 years he was alive? Even though Lin Fan did not enjoy these mass slaughters, there was no way he would leave these pitfalls behind for himself, especially a pitfall whose potential was pretty decent. With the system, Lin Fan knew that he was unparalleled. But even then, leaving a bunch of flies buzzing around him to deal with was cumbersome. Ah, the masses clamored noisily. Looking at the scene before them, all the royal family disciples fled in all directions as though they had just seen a ghost. Lin Fan wasn't bothered by this. But just then, Lin Fan frowned. Within the depths of the palace, an aura erupted out. Lin Fan could feel the pressure from this aura pressing on him. Too much. The slow voice penetrated through Lin Fan's ears calmly. But this soft and gentle voice was like thunder in Lin Fan's ears, causing his eardrums to vibrate painfully. The color of the peaceful skies changed. N-O-V-E in .C ohm. A gigantic purple thunderbolt struck down from the heavens into the depths of the palace. Translator's thoughts. Lamb. Hi guys, I would just like to say something slightly more personal. When I woke up and saw TSS on power ranking 13, I was actually really surprised and shocked, but in a pleasant way of course. As you guys may know for now, I know some of the other authors are always asking for all these stuff and whatnot. When this power ranking thing first came out, by a stroke of luck, TSS was at 8. Ever since then it has continuously dropped. As a result, TSS has also dropped from number 7 on popular list until 11 or something. But I still don't believe in asking my readers for their power stones or whatever because it doesn't matter to me. All I wanted to do was to keep the story true to itself rather than just a slugfest for rankings or whatnot. I believe that if my story is good enough, my readers will love it, and that's the sort of connection and interaction I love with you guys in TL thoughts and comments. But I'm writing this because honestly, I haven't thought that TSS would actually climb back in power rankings and stuff, and I just want to let those of you know that I'm really grateful you're sticking with me in the novel. We're all in this together, guys. Cheers. Opening parenthesis colon. Chapter 229, Delicious Wonton. Chapter 229, Delicious Wonton. Lin Fan's face changed. This aura was pretty strong, in fact, just feeling it was almost choking up his airways. To think that such a boss would be hidden within the Qinshan dynasty. This was not something Lin Fan had expected. Furthermore, the purple thunderbolt earlier brought with it an ominous feeling as though someone had broken through something. Was this guy secretly training up within the palace all this while, and the trauma from this onslaught had awakened him to break through to another level? Haha, Lin Fan arched his head facing the skies and laughed wildly. Do you think that someone like you who has been hiding inside all this while can kill yours truly? What a joke. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Yours truly has sought out vengeance for the 108 lives of the Yan village. I don't wish to kill any more innocents. Thus, I shall spare your lowly life. Cherish this chance. Lin Fan flicked his robes, hands behind his back, evidently disregarding the presence of this person within. Under the frightful gaze of the disciples from both sects, Lin Fan disappeared. The disciples of both sects were fearful beyond measure. Now that their elders had their fates hanging in the unknown, they could do nothing against the fearsome strength of this man. Now that Lin Fan had sought out vengeance, he was feeling much better. The thing that was pushing him forth earlier on was adrenaline. For the sake of the Yan village, he was totally pumped up. But now that it was all over, Lin Fan regained his composure and returned to his usual self. He needed to make sure he did not forget about his own safety, all for the sake of revenge. The moment Lin Fan entered stealth mode, he ran off immediately without hesitation. When one was outside, one lived on one's image and reputation. If he were to run off in the face of masses, where was he to hide his face from there on? Only under the guise of invisibility could he regain his old self back. If you can't beat him, run from him. That was Lin Fan's way of life. Especially this mysterious guy from within, Lin Fan did not have anything against him personally. There was no point duking it out with him to death's door. As to whether or not the other party hated him, that was not up for Lin Fan to decide. Lin Fan had this persistent nagging that his luck wasn't too good. Ever since he had left the sect, his journey had been fraught with misfortunes. Every time he had wiped out a place, a final big boss would appear to defeat him cruelly. This was nothing good for a man like Lin Fan, whose only wish was to put on an ultimate act of bullshit. November LBJNN. But this was all a matter of strength. If he reached a state of invincibility, who would still dare to act cockily in front of him? Within a secret room in the Qinshan dynasty, a middle-aged man was exploding with a fearsome aura. After the thunderbolt, he was surrounded by energy grid lines around his entire body. This was a sign of someone breaking through to the greater celestial level, being able to comprehend the power of energy grid lines. He could make use of them, reaching the highest state of power being. The energy grid lines were like agile snakes, coiling themselves onto the body of this man as he raised his fist, grasping at the air. Two dark figures appeared from the shadows before the man. One of them was Tang Long, who was killed by Lin Fan, while the other was the Qin Emperor who had feigned death earlier. My son, Long. The middle-aged man looked at the corpse lying silently on the ground as sadness flashed through his heartbroken eyes. He then stared at the Qin Emperor angrily. Suddenly, the Qin Emperor who had feigned death, knelt onto the ground and kowtowed furiously. Qin Emperor, please forgive me. Please spare my life. I wasn't that guy's match at all. The mysterious thing was that both these men looked exactly the same. Trash. The man who had mastered the energy grid lines struck out with his palms, disintegrating the Qin Emperor, who had feigned death, into dust immediately. Mastering the energy grid lines of the world, the highest state of being. The Qin Emperor roared furiously. He grabbed two thick energy grid lines from thin air and tugged, fusing them together with his body with a weird glow. The Qin Emperor's aura became ever stronger, fiercer, and forceful. Raising his palms, booming lightning struck and crackled out in all directions furiously. You've killed my son, so I'll kill you. Full of killing intent, the Qin Emperor ripped apart the air before him like a piece of paper, and then walked into the void he had created and disappeared. The secret room was silent. Tang Long's body laid there silently, quietly. Just then, the air trembled like a water ripple, gently vibrating. A jade-white skeleton finger stretched out from within the void. Crack, crack, the cracking sounds of a skeleton came out from within the void. Soon, the entire jade-white skeleton exited from the void. Looking at the body on the ground, it seemed to be smiling as it curled its long skeleton finger, beckoning towards something. Tang Long's body began to shudder violently. Suddenly, a skeleton filled with blood emerged from within his body. The jade-white skeleton took it and threw Tang Long's skeleton into the void, making it disappear completely. As though it was laughing heartily, two flames burned in the holes of its skull where the eyes used to be. Blood started bleeding out from within the jade-white skeleton, and finally, it flew into Tang Long's skeleton-less body. Just then, Tang Long, who had long passed away, opened his eyes abruptly. Within those eyes burned lively flames, which then disappeared after a while. Tang Long stood up and patted away the dust from his body. He then looked around at his surroundings. That haughty face of his revealed a smile. However, this was a benevolent and compassionate smile. That arrogance and anger from earlier were gone completely. Lin Fan had been running all around the city. He could feel the overwhelming aura sweeping the path behind him. But after he continued running for a while, Lin Fan came to a halt. What the hell is yours truly running for? Bloody hell, I'm a man with a system. No one can detect anything from me. It's not like he can find me out or anything, right? Once he had come to this realization, Lin Fan let out a chuckle. He then looked for a secluded place and got out of his invisibility. Checking his appearance, he was clean from head to toe with not a single bloodstain. Relieved, he then slid in quietly with the crowds. As for the mysterious, powerful man, Lin Fan swore that if he could find yours truly, then he must be a really capable man. The Qin Emperor was searching all across the streets, but to no avail. Floating up into the skies and looking down at his gigantic city, his face was grim and solemn. No aura, not a single trace of it. Just what sort of concealment technique was this to be able to escape his attention? The Qin Emperor had spread his consciousness throughout the city, searching continuously. But no matter how he tried, he couldn't find anything strange or weird. Boss, give me a bowl of wonton. Lin Fan sat at a roadside stall, waving his hand and beckoning. All right, coming right up. A steaming piping bowl of wonton was brought to Lin Fan. Have your fill, sir. Lin Fan nodded. Lifting his spoon, he took a bite into one with a look of satisfaction. Delicious. Lin Fan gazed up into the skies. The guy must be worried sick trying to seek him out. But yours truly was a master at the art of hiding. To find yours truly that easily. He must truly be dreaming. The wonton was extremely delicious, so Lin Fan ordered another bowl. He then visited a brothel. It was time to observe the daily livelihoods of these girls who had strayed off the right path of life. Translator's thoughts. Lamb. Hi guys. Seems like I was right. The sneaky 7th saint did plan to revive or something. Selfish bugger. Also, if you guys are confused by wonton, it's wonton, not wonton. Google for it. It's like Chinese dumplings, really similar, but the ingredients used are slightly different. Cheers. Chapter 230. Shish Tea's Powerful Ahead. Chapter 230. Shish Tea's Powerful Ahead. The next day, the Zhang family's convoy set off. Within a majestic carriage, Lin Fan was seated with the sons and mistresses of this family, enjoying with fine wine and conversation. Sir Lin is talented indeed, and I am truly impressed. The young master of the Zhang family was well groomed and had a clean look. He was thoroughly impressed with Lin Fan's talents in poetry. Brother, how did you get acquainted with Sir Lin? A daughter of the Zhang family asked docilely. She did not understand how these two men could become so close like bosom buddies after just a single night. It's a secret. The Zhang family's young master laughed gently while shaking his head. Lin Fan laughed gently as well. After cruising around the city aimlessly yesterday, he decided to visit a brothel out of boredom. Within the brothel, Lin Fan met a man who was utterly showcasing his poetry talents in the hopes of exchanging them with the laughter and attention of the ladies. Those beautiful words flowing out of his mouth had Lin Fan stupefied. That haughty demeanor was also approved by Lin Fan. Sweeping back his hair with a firm expression on his face, Lin Fan felt the need to match up with this man. With a wistful look on his face, Lin Fan raised his glass, revealing an aura of loneliness and solitude. Thinking through his heart, this beautiful poem would then bare itself for the first time in the Qinshan dynasty and leave its root there forever. Taking 3 steps forward, Lin Fan's elegance swept through the entire brothel. All the ladies and gentlemen within were infected with Lin Fan's beautiful melancholy. Twinkle, twinkle little star. How I wonder, what you are. Up above the world, so high. Like a diamond, in the sky. Lin Fan did not like to study much when he was younger. Thus, he only knew of a small number of rhymes and stuff. In Lin Fan's eyes, it was such a romantic and emotional rhyme he could even pass it off as a poem. And indeed, the moment he completed his poem, the surrounding ladies and gentlemen broke into applause with a look of awe on their faces. Towards the roaring ovation, Lin Fan could only wave his hand humbly. As a learned man, his intents were in the beauty of language. With this in mind, he gifted them with yet another gem. The Adventures of Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumpty brought about yet another round of acclamation. Those ladies in the brothel were so dazzled by Lin Fan that all of them were winking at him slyly, sending cupids along his way. But to a humble man like Lin Fan who did not hanker and lust for fame and fortune, these were small achievements not worth a mention. Even though the Zhang family's young master had his limelight stolen, he wasn't angry or frustrated, and spoke to Lin Fan courteously. Glancing at the Zhang young master, Lin Fan could tell that he too had an unspeakable flaw. He then pulled out some bigra for the young man. And with a single sentence, he paved the way into the Zhang young master's heart. 100 girls a night is no issue with this pill. And with that, Lin Fan had secured his position in the Zhang young master's heart as the latter submitted to his gentleman Linus, treating the latter with warm hospitality like a bosom buddy. And today, the Zhang family was heading out to their old house 100 miles away for tomb sweeping. Lin Fan just tagged along for convenience. After all, it would be such a pity to not take a ride in this majestic carriage. HMPH, so be it then. I'm not curious. The Zhang family's daughter looked at Lin Fan. She blushed as her look expressed some interest towards this man. But that look of interest sent Lin Fan's heart flustering like a vengeful spirit haunting after his life. To Lin Fan, his mental state had long been cultivated to the highest point in this world. Every living thing in this world would eventually return to the ground as the earth after their deaths. For a young man his age to be able to comprehend such wisdom and enlightenment was an example of what a genius of a man he was. Therefore, no matter how this girl looked like, there was no way she could penetrate through that firm and resolute heart of his. And of course, the most crucial main point was that this daughter of the Zhang family was just too bloody ugly. Goodness, she could have a fight to duke it out with Zhang or go over their faces. But the look of this young lady had Lin Fan thinking back about his Zhang or go back in the sect, and he wondered how his disciples were doing. In fact, he even missed them. Lin Fan opened the curtains of the windows and took a look outside. As they passed through the city gates, he saw a soldier holding onto a stack of wanted posters and putting them up. Looking at the drawing on the poster, Lin Fan chuckled. What sort of person would look so ugly and ghastly like a ghost? But upon closer inspection, the features of that man did resemble yours truly somehow, didn't they? Tens of miles away. Brother Zhang, this is where we shall part. Lin Fan waved his hands to the Zhang family's young master. Brother Lin, would we have a chance to meet once more? The Zhang family's young master said longingly. It was hard to find someone he could connect with so easily as a friend in this world. To be able to hit it off instantaneously, it was as though they had known each other forever. Lin Fan laughed. He was sure that he would probably never meet this man ever again. After all, they belonged to different worlds. It was for the best that they did not meet frequently. If the fates are willing, my friend, Farewell. Lin Fan turned around to leave. Even though he had only known this man for a single night, he too could feel the friendship of years blossoming with this person. Brother Lin. The Zhang family's young master looked at Lin Fan, repeating Lin Fan's final words softly under his breath. In his eyes, a teardrop could be seen forming from the sides of it. Oh, right, Brother Zhang. You can have this little gift here. I'll pay you a visit someday. Lin Fan laughed as he tossed the man a small piece of jade he had crafted. Take care, Brother Lin. Zhang's young master waved his hand farewell as he clutched the jade pendant firmly, determined to take good care of it. The next time they would meet post this simple farewell would probably be 30 years later. Lin Fan had avenged the Yan village. As for the 7 Saints treasure map, Lin Fan was incensed by these guys. In this world, yours truly should be the only one plotting against others. To think that these guys would dare to plot against yours truly. If not for the system, Lin Fan might really have been done in by these guys. Heaven revolting life-changing godly pill my A**s. What a load of bullshit. Lin Fan looked at the black dog within his storage sack and took it out, leashing it. The moment the black dog was let out, it barked furiously. But what had Lin Fan laughing was the fact that after consuming the godly pill, the fur of the dog had changed to become extremely slick and shiny. No-vel-p-in.c-om. A dog with unparalleled potential. Indeed, a rare breed in this world. You dogs I know you can hear yours truly. But don't worry, yours truly will definitely groom you to be a saint amongst dogs. As for the 7 saints, rest assured, all of you will be the 7 dog saints under yours truly from henceforth. I will find out the rest of your locations and retrieve everything one by one. We'll see if you guys are more devious than yours truly can ever be. In the middle of a forest, the sight of Lin Fan talking to a dog was ridiculous and incredulous. Woof, woof. The black dog's gaze was brutal, and it couldn't wait to bite at Lin Fan. But with a gentle whisk of his robes, Lin Fan threw the dog back into his storage sack where it laid quietly. Lin Fan then let Chicky out. He must have been bored inside the storage sack, because the moment he was let out, he stretched his wings and walked in circles around Lin Fan, crying out loudly. Cut your head, hurry up, we're moving. Chicky spread his wings and tried to flap them to fly, but no matter what, he could not lift off the ground. Exasperated, it hopped up and held onto Lin Fan's shoulders once more. What an embarrassment, a phoenix who can't fly. I wonder what you are, neither a phoenix nor a chicken. Lin Fan glared at it. Other than the immense potential it had, Lin Fan could not see anything else special about it. Cuckoo, cuck one more time and I'll whack you. Cuck. After flying for quite some time, an incredible aura swept over, ripping the skies apart. Lin Fan immediately landed and walked ahead carefully. Shishti's powerful ahead. Translator's thoughts. Lamb. Hi guys, I think I owe you guys quite a number of explanations for this chapter. First up, about the brothels. You might be wondering why all of these are happening in the brothels. Now, the ancient Chinese brothels operate pretty differently from modern ones. In the ancient brothels, they were like inns with rooms and dining tables. The guests would enter there to feast and dine under the companionship with exquisite women. The richer or more prominent guests would have a room all to themselves while others could probably score one of the girls if they were very charismatic or something. I don't think you guys could Google and find out much about it. These are details that I caught on from watching Hong Kong movies and the likes, so if you guys catch them you may get an idea of what I'm talking about. Secondly, about the rhymes. In the Raws, Lin Fan used a poem from Li Bai's 300 Tang Poems. It's a famous poem that children would know from a young age. In fact, he mixed up 2 different poems into one. So he took top half of A and bottom half of B to create the first poem, followed by top half of B and bottom half of A for the second poem. But there was no way I could recreate this in English, so I opted for the English version of nursery rhymes. At the same time, I couldn't mix Humpty Dumpty with Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars, so I made do. Lastly, the dog's fur becoming slick and shiny. For those of you who might be confused, the meaning of the author was that the dog was now like an extremely good breed dog. Dogs of good quality breeds would have slicker furs and stuff, so his intention was to state that the black dog was now of the purest breed in all dogs in this world. Something along those lines. Wow, this is long. Cheers. Chapter 231, A Mighty Entrance to Lead the Atmosphere. Chapter 231, A Mighty Entrance to Lead the Atmosphere. Black clouds hovered around the skies as the aura grew stronger. Furthermore, it wasn't just a single aura. It comprised of multiple different aura combined into one, erupting with a strong force that could not be underestimated. Even though Lin Fan had yet to catch sight of the other party, just from the force of it, he could deduce that the person was at least a paracelestial upper level and above. In fact, it was definitely sufficient for him to be having such a cultivation base to handle most things. Just what happened to this person to cause such a commotion by emitting off all his aura? Lin Fan was curious. Even though Lin Fan had just defeated opponents of the lesser celestial cultivation base, based on his experience in the past few encounters, he knew that things would never be exactly as he had expected. There must be a boss hidden within all of this. Lin Fan was nearly done in multiple times just on this journey alone. If not for his stealth and the fact that he is able to conceal his aura, he would have been chased all around the face of this earth by now. Lin Fan moved forward carefully while checking his footsteps at every moment as well. It would be disastrous if he stepped on a tree branch or something and attracted their attention. Hand over the stuff. Just then, in the middle of the forest, a young man with a frosty look on his face and hands behind his back was facing a group of people. The path forward for this group of people had been blocked by a number of martial artists. Even though the aura of these martial artists wasn't too strong, they weren't to be underestimated. This is a holy object of the Manwang tribe. You guys from Blood Kill sect shouldn't be too overbearing. A cute young lady clad in blue robes called out, looking warily at her surroundings. Manwang tribe, what's up with that? Lin Fan, who was hiding nearby, thought to himself while peeping sneakily. He did not have much idea what this tribe was all about. But just then, he had a jolt in his memory. Back in Glory Sect, there were details of these guys documented in the records. Based on his memory, didn't members of the Manwang tribe all bear features of beasts? But no matter how he looked, this cute little girl didn't seem like a member of the tribe. But those guys protecting the young girl did seem a bit like members of the tribe. Each of them was bulky and huge like mini giants. The muscles on their bodies were ripped like a dragon's, and their faces were extremely fierce. Just a single look from them would send one on their nerves. Lin Fan checked his system. Of those 7 martial artists surrounding the Manwang tribe members, 6 of them were of paracelestial full cultivation state. As for their leader, he was a lesser celestial lower-level cultivator. For someone of his tender age to be at a lesser celestial cultivation base was quite an incredible achievement. He wondered what sect they belonged to. If these guys were in Glory Sect, they would be famous individuals within the inner sect by now. But, if they were out of their sect to snatch items from these guys of the Manwang tribe, then the treasure in question would be pretty valuable, wouldn't it? Lin Fan felt his heart jump a little as he was filled with excitement and anticipation. One was bound to be rich by murdering others for their valuables. This saying was right after all. But in Lin Fan's case, it was more like, one was bound to be rich by tricking and fooling others out of their valuables. Lin Fan was not much of a killer. To him, no matter what one did, he had to let the other party submit to him convincingly. It must be out of their very wills to concede defeat. But what Lin Fan was puzzled about was that with the cultivation bases of these people trying to snatch the valuables, they could have easily done so by brute force. Why were they still dragging it out wishy-washy all the way till now? But right then, yet another development unfolded. Kill. The young man's eyes shone brightly as the blood energy around him began to rumble. He was covered from head to toe by a blood mist. By the looks of it, the other party must have some really strong killer move or something as their trump card. Otherwise, these guys wouldn't have waited so long to strike. No matter what he did, Lin Fan always made sure to check out the situation and keep it clear from early on. That was a necessary skill in his line of trickery and fooling. He needed to be extremely careful. Otherwise, if he were to die due to a mistake, what a lame ending that would be. And just then, something amazing happened. The cute young lady was circled by her 4 bodyguards. In the center of it all, she closed her eyes and began singing. The moment she started singing, a powerful energy surged through the air. Even Lin Fan was astonished by the source of this energy. Just what in the world is that? Lin Fan's face changed as his eyes focused on the skies above the young girl. An ancient well with an aura of vicissitude had formed in the air above the girl. From this well, the energy was being emitted like a stream of water flowing down from a waterfall, entering the 4 bodyguards. But what alarmed Lin Fan was the fact that as he focused on the well to try to understand what it was, he felt his mental state struggling against it. It was as though there was a really powerful force within the well, blocking out anyone from looking through it. What an amazing and strong gadget. Lin Fan couldn't help but sing praises of it. This ancient well was definitely a treasure. But Lin Fan had never seen something like this, nor did he know about its purpose. Lin Fan looked at the 4 bodyguards who had received the energy from the ancient well. In an instant, their energy levels exploded up like a bullet. It was as though they were practically lesser celestial lower levels right now from the paracelestial full cultivation bases they previously were. Lin Fan was startled. Wasn't this thing way too strong? Eventually, the cultivation bases of these people stabilized at lesser celestial lower level. Form up, the young man surrounded by the blood mist shouted as he dashed forth, exchanging blows with the 4 bodyguards who had just received a buff. As for the other paracelestial martial artists, they formed into a formation, holding off 2 of the bodyguards who had just broken through to lesser celestial level with all their might. Wow, this is some black magic sorcery. Lin Fan was watching excitedly. Wasn't this young lady's tactics way too overpowered? Goodness, she had completely disregarded the rules of cultivation bases. Leveling up just like that without any bit of hesitation. And what was even more amazing was the fact that she had forced up the power level of 4 people at one go. What, were there no limits to this thing? What a horrifying power. So horrifying. Meanwhile, Lin Fan was still hiding nearby, waiting to reap the rewards of this encounter. He was thinking about what he should do so that he can get the most out of this. For both parties to be fighting so fiercely, the treasure must be quite something. Lin Fan bid his time, waiting for the most crucial moment. Indeed, being leveled up forcefully was still nothing compared to someone who had trained himself up. Even though it was a 2v1 battle, the blood mist-covered young man was still at an advantage. He struck out with his palm, which was filled with blood energy. But what amazed Lin Fan were the physical bodies of these people from the Manwang tribe. Indeed, they were strong. Other than spitting out a few mouthfuls of blood after receiving the strike, they were still lively and vigorous. As time passed by, Lin Fan was still watching fixedly. And finally, the battlefield changed. Those people from the Manwang tribe could not take it anymore. Or perhaps, there was a time limit to the energy boost provided from the ancient well. Hand over the treasure, and you get to keep your lives. The blood mist-covered young man said as he struck out with his palm once more, causing the 2 bodyguards he was dealing with to stumble back while bleeding profusely. Lin Fan stood up from where he was, smiling. The faceless sky demon with 3 heads and 6 arms appeared behind him. Now, for someone like Lin Fan who bothered about appearances, he couldn't make do with just any form of lousy entrances. Now, fellow juniors present, just what happened for you guys to be fighting as such? How about accompanying yours truly to just admire the beautiful scenery of this place? Lin Fan's calm voice rang out from the woods. Alarmed, both parties stopped fighting and looked in the direction of the voice. Translator's thoughts. Lam. Hi guys. Now, please don't blame me for Lin Fan's ignorance. Again, I wonder if the author had made a mistake when he had Lin Fan wondering the sect these guys came from because the cute young girl had evidently mentioned it in her speech. But perhaps Lin Fan couldn't hear from the distance. Also, the point about leveling up forcefully being unable to match with someone who had leveled up by his own effort just reminds me of the difference between a Pokemon brought up by rare candy and one trained up. Ha, cheers. Chapter 232, I trust you. Chapter 232, I trust you. Who's there? Shui Qing's face was shocked as he shouted out. To think that he had not discovered someone closing in on them. Evidently, this man must be highly skilled. Blood Kill Sect is handling business. Please give us some face, sir. Blood Kill Sect was renowned in the area of 10,000 miles around this place. Even though he did not know the owner of this voice, Shui Qing could only hope that he wouldn't mess things up. Huang Linger, the young lady from Manwang tribe, was filled with a worried look. They had come to Dongling continent to retrieve the holy treasure back to their tribe. To think that they would be spied on and ambushed by Blood Kill Sect. And to think that at this crucial point of the fight, someone would appear. At this thought, Huang Linger let out a slight smile, but it disappeared as quickly as it came. She was reminded of what the elders back in the tribe had told her. Dongling continent was a dog-eat-dog world where the weak were preyed upon by the strong. No one here was a good person. Those bodyguards who had been infused with the energy from the ancient well were now back to their original cultivation bases and looking pale. Apparently, there was a price to pay for that forced boost. Holy lady, what should we do? One of the bodyguards asked softly, troubled in her mind as well. They must have been betrayed by a traitor. Their journey to the Dongling continent to retrieve this holy treasure was made known to no one. Then how were they halted on their way back by the Blood Kill Sect? We'll play it by ear. Huang Linger replied warily. The world is big and vast, but yours truly will never give face to anyone. Lin Fan's voice rang over once more. The moment Shui Qing heard this, a look of rage flashed on his face momentarily. But, He could only grit his teeth and bear with this humiliation. He would not strike until he found out about this man's identity. Lin Fan's figure then appeared. The faceless sky demon with 3 heads and 6 arms, which was floating behind him in the air while sitting cross-legged, gave the people present a tremendous sense of fear. On those 3 calm and peaceful faces which revealed their demonic natures, the eyelids were twitching non-stop. Anger, hatred, evil, these 3 faces represented all the negative emotions of this world. But what these guys were even more fearful of was the fact that beneath this phantom demon was a human figure. Hands behind his back, he walked with grace and elegance along with a smile on his face. The aura he carried was worlds apart from the demon right behind him. Just who is this? Shui Qing was deep in his thoughts while thinking about something. Dongling continent was a large place. Therefore, it was natural that he did not know everyone within it. However, this phantom demon behind that man was materialized from a mental cultivation skill by a certain sect. But just which sect possessed such a skill? This was extremely troubling for Shui Qing. Just as Shui Qing was deep in his thoughts, Huang Linger took a look at who it was that had come. Those frowned and worried eyes of hers changed into a different sort of glow. And it wasn't a glow of shock or fear. It was a glow of surprise. If Lin Fan had noticed this glow, he would have definitely thought to himself deeply why the girl was so attracted to him at first glance. Could she be captivated due to his unique demeanor and aura? Just then, Lin Fan continued walking forward gracefully, bringing with him an aura of benevolence and compassion. His face reflected a nature so warm that if snow were to drop on him right now, it would be instantly melted due to his radiance. Toggling between his stealth only served to amplify Lin Fan's mysteriousness. When Shui Qing and gang looked at Lin Fan, they were shocked as well. Just what sort of techniques was he using that he was completely undetectable? There wasn't even a single ripple in the air to give off any hints of his strength. Could I know who this honorable sir is? Shui Qing stepped forth and asked, his eyes filled with caution. Blood Kill sect had to get their hands on the treasure in Manwang tribe's hands. Lin Fan looked at Shui Qing. He could sense the thick smell of blood from this man. It seemed like he had killed tons of people. And actually, Lin Fan could ascertain the fact from this man's killing aura as well. It seemed like his main intention of cultivating martial arts was for the sole purpose of murder as well. No-vel-p in .c Om. Blood Kill sect. This sect too was documented within Glory sect's records. Blood Kill sect was the vilest and evilest sect in the entire Dongling continent. They did not have a fixed location for the sect, rather their base just comprised of a secretive building. But nobody knew where the building was located. Even in Glory sect's records, there was no indication of their location. Blood Kill sect's way of life was to kill, and they were vicious in their methods. Be it martial artists or mere mortals, for the sake of riches and interests, they would kill anyone in their way. Yours truly is just a mere man who has traveled along the face of this earth. When I come across injustice, I step in to resolve it. So, why have you guys been fighting? Why don't you tell yours truly about it? Lin Fan smiled gently, giving off a gentle and soothing aura. Anyone who felt this aura would feel at peace and warm. But to Shui Qing, this was a dangerous and deadly aura. Insolent, who are you to step into Blood Kill sect's affairs? One of the Blood Kill sect disciples shouted out. As he lashed out, his eyes were filled with killing intent. Shui Qing did not move or respond to this development. It was as though he was waiting to see what would happen. He could not tell anything about this man's strength. The only thing he could guess was his age. Upon hearing these words, Lin Fan's face did not change. He was neither worried nor angry as he continued smiling gently, strong killing intent there. You need to calm down. Shui Qing's face changed. He could not believe what had just happened. The moment Lin Fan raised his finger gently, his sword will materialized multiple long swords out of thin air. They darted towards the disciple and pinned all 4 limbs of his onto the ground. Beads of sweat began to drop from Shui Qing's forehead. That was a paracelestial full cultivation disciple. But without breaking a single sweat, the other party had him taken down with ease. This man was nothing to be scoffed at. The other Blood Kill sect disciples did not dare to make a move at this point. Looking at what happened, all of them were in a state of shock as well. Even if their senior brother Shui Qing were to head up, he might be taken down in one swift strike. All right, everyone just calm down. Yours truly has come in the name of resolving this issue, and I'm not out to take anyone's lives. Now, this young lady from the Manwang tribe, how about you place your treasure with yours truly? With that, the Blood Kill sect will no longer have a reason to fight you guys for it. Now, something like robbing others of their stuff is really unethical and shameless, you know. Shui Qing did not say anything, but he was smirking in his heart. This guy ahead of him was simply dreaming. To have the Manwang tribe hand over their holy treasure to him just like that. Who did he think he is? But he had to see how the Manwang tribe members would react to this. After Lin Fan said these words which only fools would agree to, the Manwang tribe members were on their toes as well. They immediately shielded Huang Linger behind their backs. To think that this man was here for their holy treasure as well. Indeed, the Dongling continent was just filled with greedy people. Looking at the scene, Shui Qing laughed out as well. But something changed. Huang Linger pushed away her bodyguards gently. She then walked in front of Lin Fan and hummed gently. A green glow appeared on her chest and under its guise, a weird-looking seed flew out of her body. This is our holy treasure. I trust you. ... What? Shui Qing was flabbergasted. He had not expected that somebody of the Manwang tribe would hand over the seed so easily. This was unbelievable. Looking at the seed, Shui Qing's eyes were filled with thirst and greed. He wished to snatch it over at that instant. But considering the strength of this man before him, he controlled his impulse. Lin Fan was astonished as well. He had not expected the other party to be so decisive about it. Just what was going on? Could it be that she was really charmed by his charisma? But that was not right. He knew that he couldn't possibly be this charming. But Lin Fan warned himself in his heart to maintain his composure. He must not let anything let slip. Translator's thoughts. Lamb. Ha ha ha, hello guys. Don't ask me why the faceless sky demon skill can summon a three-headed six-armed demon. The author just made it work like that, ha 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 ha. Cheers. Chapter 233, I see the future. Chapter 233, I see the future. Lin Fan was also puzzled by the actions of the young lady from Manwang tribe. The treasure she was guarding with her life, she handed it over just like that. Lin Fan observed this seed floating gently in the air. It was dark green all over, and there were no sprouts or anything coming out of it. Yet, it contained a boundless amount of life force. Lin Fan had only seen a life force like this twice in his life. The first time was the phoenix in fiery hell, and this was the second. Comparatively, the life force emitted from this seed was even stronger than the phoenix from back then. The difference was like heaven and earth. Even though Lin Fan did not know what this seed was, he knew it was bound to be something scary. I trust you, the holy treasure of my tribe. I'll hand it over to you for safekeeping. Huang Linger's face blossomed with a sincere smile. Lin Fan was really hesitant by now. Just what was this girl up to? He had not come across a situation as such. Shui Qing was equally stupefied. Just what the hell was going on? The treasure they had been trying to snatch over for so long was handed over to a man just after a few words of his. Then what was the point of them fighting so hard for it? Lin Fan's mind was filled with all sorts of thoughts, and he couldn't grasp any of them to understand the situation. But he knew that one must not live life without guts. Since the other party had already willingly handed it over, if he didn't take it, he would be wasting this golden opportunity of a lifetime. He might as well use the system to check it out. Just what was this thing? Lin Fan grabbed hold of the seed in his hand. Ding, congratulations on discovering Life Seed. Yet to germinate. Life Seed. Possess infinite possibilities. Lin Fan had wanted to depend on the system for analyzing this seed for him to find out just what it was all about. But the analysis by the system had Lin Fan dumbfounded. Bloody hell, what was the difference between this description and not saying a single sh*t? Anyone could feel the boundless life force from this seed. And what infinite possibilities? Then what? What was next? Lin Fan sighed in his heart, but his outer appearance did not change as he nodded calmly. This is for the best. A treasure like this would attract only troubles for you guys. When yours truly is free, yours truly will head over to the Manwang area and return this treasure. Huang Linger looked at Lin Fan and nodded her head, I trust you. Upon hearing this sentence of, I trust you, once more, Lin Fan was also getting helpless at this girl's simplicity. What? Yours truly was a master of trickery. There was no way yours truly was ever heading back to you. Nodding her head to Lin Fan once more, Huang Linger let out a wide smile and left with her tribesmen. Lin Fan looked at their back view, stunned. That was it, they were gone just like that. Equally stunned and confused was Shui Qing. Manwang tribe did not want their treasure anymore. If he had not seen the treasure before, he would have thought that this was just a fraud by Manwang tribe. But, looking at the item in this man's hands, he was 100% certain that this was the treasure he had seen before. This was the treasure of Manwang tribe. A cold breeze blew by as Lin Fan stood there still stupefied. Shui Qing looked at Lin Fan speechless. This. Holy lady, that's our sacred treasure. One of the tribesmen said. A smile formed on the side of the young lady's mouth. Everything in this world happens for a cause. I have seen the future. Upon hearing these words from their holy lady, the tribesmen were shocked as well. Future. Holy lady, what does the future hold? The future has no definite shape. It has always been there. As time twists and turns, when you reach that point, that will be the future. The holy lady's words were complex and they did not fully comprehend her meaning. But they believed that the holy lady would definitely lead the Manwang tribe to their former glory. This thing here, Blood Kill sect must definitely have it. Please lay down your terms, sir. Shui Qing hurried over, resisting the urge in his heart and instead offered a proposition for exchanging it. Lin Fan looked at Shui Qing and let out a smile. He then continued, take out all your storage rings you're carrying with you. All of you. Sir, that's all. Shui Qing's face changed immediately, as though he had heard it wrong. Was this man's demand so simple? This was weird for sure. Oh, if you guys don't hand it over then so be it. Yours truly is leaving. Lin Fan turned around without hesitation. Hold up, sir. Shui Qing stopped Lin Fan hurriedly and retrieved the storage rings of his juniors. Even though Shui Qing thought that this man was pretty suspicious looking, he did not know what his intentions were. He then handed all 7 storage rings into Lin Fan's palms. This is all we have, sir. Looking at these glowing rings, Lin Fan let out a smile of satisfaction. With a sweep of his robes, he kept all 7 into his storage sack. Alright, you guys can leave now. Lin Fan waved his hands as though he was chasing off beggars. This was all going too smoothly for Lin Fan. Without even a single bit of effort, he had gotten everything he wanted. Indeed, he was a genius. All those people who had to resort to murder and the likes in order to get the valuables of others, they were nothing compared to his ingenuity. As times were changing, the methods of stealing from others had to evolve as well. This was an era of using one's brains. What's the meaning of this? Shui Qing was enraged. He realized that he had been fooled. November LBJNN. There's no meaning to it. Yours truly is here to teach you guys a lesson in life. It is unethical and shameless to rob others of their belongings. The reason why I have you guys hand over your storage rings is for you to understand the meaning of turning over a new leaf. Don't think about ascending to the heavens in a single leap. You gotta pay your dues. Lin Fan replied calmly. The moment Shui Qing heard this, he was thoroughly incensed. From the very beginning, this man had intended to toy with them. Damn it, we from Blood Kill sect are not pushovers. Shui Qing roared. His face was so enraged it was as though he could swallow Lin Fan whole. A rush of killing intent shot up into the skies from Shui Qing as a blood mist surrounded his body once more. He was burning livid at this point. Kill. Shui Qing bit down on his teeth and hissed out grimly. The moment Shui Qing said out the word, kill, it was as though time had stopped for the moment. Lin Fan threw out a casual kick at his crotch. Everything came so suddenly, so peacefully, and so calmly, without any signs of foreboding. Ah, the cold, angered face of Shui Qing was now covered by a layer of pain. You. His veins and tendons popped out on his body as he stared at Lin Fan with bloodshot eyes. Lin Fan stepped forth and patted him on his shoulders, reminding him gently, don't bear with it. Shout it out, it'll feel better that way. Shui Qing was on the verge of breaking down, but he could only do as Lin Fan said. Arg hhhhhh. A long howl spread through the skies, vibrating so violently that it was as though the earth was going to collapse in. Ding, congratulations on defeating lesser celestial lower level Shui Qing. Ding, experience points plus 2 million feet. Ding, balls kicking, leveled up. Level 15. Lin Fan was elated. After all these time, he had finally gotten it up to level 15. He wasn't too far off from level 20 now. Sir, this is blatant bullying of us Blood Kill sect, isn't it? Just then, a voice came out from within the voids. Lin Fan's face changed. Lord Zushin. Just then, space-time vibrated as a red-haired man descended slowly from the skies. There was a thick, powerful aura of his blood energy rushing forth like a torrent. All the plants and trees in the area seemed to have lost their life force as they withered immediately in the face of this. Lin Fan looked at the man who had appeared from the voids. He then grinned cheekily, what can you do about it? Run. Lin Fan burst off into the distance. The speed of his escape was enough to make anyone's jaw drop. Translator's thoughts. Lamb. Oh, by the way, Zushin's literal translation is blood god. Cheers. Also, in my personal opinion, I think the next 2 chapters are a little long-winded and boring. You might think that it's repetitive, because that's how the raws are. And I think the author himself had readers who were complaining that these were like fillers. But oh well, do bear with me and going on, things will start picking up once more in 236 emo. Cheers. Chapter 234, The Most Realistic Act. Chapter 234, The Most Realistic Act. Shui Qing was crippled on the floor, spasming with white foam out of his mouth. He was elated when he saw the appearance of Lord Shui Shen, but the sight of Lin Fan running away had him so worked up that he fainted over immediately. Shameless individual, those were the last words Shui Qing could think of as he fainted. Lord Shui Shen, the treasure is on that man. Other than the man who was pinned down by Lin Fan, the remaining 6 of them knelt down immediately at the sight of Lord Shui Shen. They were trembling at the thought of their incoming punishment for failing this mission. Shui Shen looked in the direction where Lin Fan had escaped, and then at these bunch of disciples cowering before him. He snorted coldly before turning into a streak of rainbow, chasing after Lin Fan. Until this day, no one had been capable of escaping from the gaze of Blood Kill Sect. Blood Kill Sect comprised of 12 levels within the sect. Each of these levels had a level master. The higher one went, the stronger the level master's strength became. Even though Shui Shen was just the first level master, his cultivation base was nothing to be scoffed at. He was just that mere step away from reaching a greater celestial cultivation base. As Lin Fan was running away frantically, he stopped from time to time to look behind him. He didn't know if this guy could catch up with him. But after a few times of looking back, he couldn't see any trace of the person. Lin Fan was getting anxious now as he pretended to shout, "Help, somebody's killing me." Lin Fan knew that it was silly of him to do so, but this was the only way he could attract the attention of the man who was chasing after him. But the more Lin Fan ran, the more he felt weird about the whole thing. His running speed wasn't that fast to begin with, then why the hell wasn't the guy catching up? Running. Bam, Lin Fan banged into something seemingly hard. Turning around to look forward, Lin Fan was startled. Why are you here?" Pretending to be terrified, Lin Fan stammered and shouted out, revealing a face of disbelief. He did not know how this Shui Shen, who was clad in red robes, could appear before him in this dense forest. Those feet of his must be really fleeting. Was it the usual pattern these days for all these pretentiously strong people to appear in such extravagant manners? Shui Shen looked at Lin Fan with a face of disbelief as well. He had long noticed the running pattern of Lin Fan and was thus waiting far ahead in the distance for his arrival. The moment Lin Fan appeared, Shui Shen's grim face revealed a cheeky smile. To Shui Shen, this was all just a game of cat and mouse. He was going to enjoy his time playing in this forest. Especially the look on this man's face turning around from time to time as he was escaping, that look made Shui Shen especially excited. He had not savored a feeling like this for a really long time now. In fact, Shui Shen had long been awaiting this look of disbelief on Lin Fan's face as he bumped into him. That face of disbelief, of hope draining from his face, that look, that really turned Shui Shen on. But the moment this guy bumped into Shui Shen, he realized that something was wrong. Right at the moment this guy touched Shui Shen, he could feel an incredible amount of force rushing at him. But it was too late for him to dodge. As Shui Shen was flying through the dense forest due to the force, he was filled with incredulity. How the hell could this guy have sent him flying? Impossible. This was impossible. But facts were facts. The fact that he was sent flying was laid bare before him. The shifting of bones was nothing to Shui Shen. After all, he was a master of the Blood Sea skill. Anyone trained in the Blood Sea skill could control their bones and anything within their bodies with the same fluidity as blood itself. Crack! A crisp sound rang out as Shui Shen rearranged his bones back to their original shape. But the way he looked at Lin Fan was filled with immense wrath. This man must die. But when he saw Lin Fan's frantic look as though he was at a loss for what to do, Shui Shen was excited once again. Yes, this was it. This was the feeling he had craved for so badly. You have successfully riled me up. Shui Shen lowered his head and glared at Lin Fan, his eyes emitting clouds of blood mist. His thin, long fingers scratched along the bark of an ancient tree, letting out a crack sound as though something was rotting and being consumed. On those long nails of his, bright red blood oozed out continuously, and he looked absolutely frightening. Lin Fan felt that his acting skills had reached yet another breakthrough level. Lesser celestial upper level. This man here was just 2 steps away from being a greater celestial. But just these 2 steps alone would take him an extremely long time as well. Lin Fan's mind had been tinkering from the very start. His physical body state was also that of a lesser celestial. No matter how hard this man was to rain blows onto him, there was no way he could break Lin Fan's defense. However, he was evidently stronger than Lin Fan. It wouldn't be an easy task to take him down. As such, Lin Fan could only come up with a plan. If one were to ask anyone to claim the title of being the gutsiest person in this world, no one would dare to snatch it away from Lin Fan. What are you trying to do? Lin Fan pointed a finger at Shui Shen, pretending to tremble as though he was filled with fear from head to toe. Shui Shen looked at the scene with utmost satisfaction. The only outcome for anyone offending Blood Kill Sect is death. But fret not, I will slowly torture you. Your blood shall fill your entire brain before slowly erupting from there. I shall let you experience the worst way to die in this world. Shui Shen said grimly. No, please. Please let me go. Lin Fan started crying. However, he was still inching step by step towards Shui Shen. He had portrayed the nature of a cowardly man with perfect realism. Lin Fan was far from a coward. But if there was one thing he believed in, it was that the road to success wasn't all smooth and straightforward. He couldn't possibly kill everyone he saw in sight. Everything in this world had to depend on his brains and smarts. A man without smarts was a man bound to fail. And what was Lin Fan's aim? That was to stand at the top of this world. He wanted to be a man so powerful that all he had to do was turn an eye to whoever it was he wanted to rob, and that person would hand it over without a second word. And there was no way Lin Fan was letting this prey before him escape. In Lin Fan's mind, he was the hunter with a weapon. Shui Shen was the innocent white rabbit waiting to be hunted. He had to wait for his chance to hit a clean strike. He mustn't scare off this little rabbit here. Hand over the treasure and kneel down before me then. I will turn you into a blood corpse, granting you eternal life. Shui Shen laughed wildly. That thin, fragile body of his looked like a deranged psycho with this laughter. Lin Fan inched forward with a look of fright in his face. Thank you for your grace. 1 step, 2 steps, ... And just like that, the distance between Lin Fan and Shui Shen was getting shorter. Lin Fan's heart was thumping furiously. This was the excitement of a hunter about to get his kill. To be able to take down someone of a lesser celestial upper level, who else would dare to take him on after that? Lin Fan finally came face to face with Shui Shen as he lifted his head up in the skies and cried tragically. Sir, so you're that guy whom everyone respects in Blood Kill Sect. Please, take me in as your underling. Lin Fan pretended to be so agitated that he was hugging at Shui Shen's waist area while gently curving his legs. Shui Shen looked down at Lin Fan's curved body, revealing a vile smile on his face. His palm was filled with a ball of red mist which seemed to contain spirits within it, howling tragically. Very well, you can go in. Shui Shen laughed grimly, but just as he was about to speak out, his face changed. Twisting heaven and earth. Once again, Lin Fan had unleashed this ultimate skill. Lin Fan was so used to this skill by now that the reversal of yin and yang could be done with just a thought of his. Ah, a torrential pain gushed up Shui Shen's body. Even if he had mastered the blood sea, he couldn't withstand this incoming pain. And just then, a red flash streaked by his face as Lin Fan slapped him with the 9-5 legendary brick. Bam! The initially mighty and haughty Shui Shen collapsed to the ground lifelessly. Ha ha! With one hand on his waist, Lin Fan laughed happily while raising the brick up with his other hand. And a fool like you actually thinks he can kill yours truly. Yours truly had long thought up of this plan before you had even arrived. To think that you're so stupid you can still act so proudly in front of yours truly. Nagging incessantly non-stop before I even lay my hands on you. What a shish stain. Going down before yours truly even used anything spectacular on you. Weak. Lin Fan shook his head and sighed. What a lonesome feeling it was to stand at the very top of this world alone. Chapter 235, Inhumane Treatment. Chapter 235, Inhumane Treatment. Lin Fan looked at the fainted Shui Shen. What an evil man. You reek of the stench of death. Evidently, countless people must have fallen prey to you. Oh well, whatever. Now that you're in the hands of yours truly, then yours truly can only exact justice for the heavens. Lin Fan said righteously, but before he did anything, he first had to scavenge all he could. Ding, congratulations on discovering light upper grade blood vest. Blood vest, made from the core of 99 female fetuses. The moment Lin Fan touched the blood vest, he was shocked by the description alone. To think that this Shui Shen could be so cruel. For the sake of creating this vest, he had murdered so many innocents. What AB****? Lin Fan took away every single object from Shui Shen's body, leaving nothing behind. Not bad. Seems like he's a somebody indeed. He's got quite a few decent belongings. Lin Fan looked into the storage ring with satisfaction. Just as Shui Shen was about to wake up, Lin Fan knocked him on the head once more, sending him into yet another deep slumber. Dragging one of Shui Shen's leg, Lin Fan looked around the surroundings for a suitable place. He then found a good spot and dragged Shui Shen over, looking for vines to tie his hands to a tree. Shui Shen's body was hung slightly above the ground. This was a good position for Lin Fan to work with. Slowly, Shui Shen began to wake up from his daze. But the moment his consciousness returned, the pain of twisting heaven and earth surged through his body once more, causing unbearable torment all over his body. You, Shui Shen's voice was trembling. The pain did not allow him to even have the energy to speak up anymore. His once sober brain was also sent spiraling into a daze with the presence of this pain. HMPH, have a good time taking in this feeling below. Lin Fan's eyes brightened as he lifted his right leg. Balls kicking. The skies changed color and shriek rang through the heavens. The pain from twisting heaven and earth earlier coupled with the pain from balls kicking was ripping Shui Shen apart from the insides. Ding! Balls kicking experience points plus 100,000 feet. The moment Lin Fan moved his leg, Shui Shen tried to pull up his lower body to dodge. But because of that move, Lin Fan's leg managed to fully cover all his sensitive nerve areas. Balls kicking! Balls kicking! Lin Fan was thoroughly immersed in the frenzy of grinding experience points. Ever since he came to Dongling Continent, he had not really had the chance to grind for experience points. After all, now that he had upgraded to twisting heaven and earth, how could he leave balls kicking behind without an upgrade? Ding! Balls kicking experience points plus 100,000. Ah! The notifications of experience points from the system were muffled with Shui Shen's tragic cries. But Lin Fan was even more excited. This was the second time he had used such a savage and ruthless method on someone, the first being the Yan Emperor. But, what Shui Shen was going through was way worse than the Yan Emperor did back then. This was a pain unimaginable to mere mortals. Shui Shen's skinny and fragile body could only tremble continuously under this pain. Those red eyes of his only grew redder with every kick, with his pupils almost lost their color in the face of this bloodshot color. Ding! Balls kicking, level up. Level 16. It was only after a long time when balls kicking had finally stopped giving experience points that Lin Fan came to a stop as well. Looking at the man before him who was tormented inhumanely, Lin Fan's heart took a leap of joy. Taking out his eternal axe, he cut down swiftly on Shui Shen's skull. That was all he could squeeze out of this man. It was time to take the experience points. Shui Shen, who was cut down by the axe, let out a terribly cry and laid there silently. Lin Fan pondered for a moment. Now that Shui Shen has been killed by him, why didn't he receive any notifications from the system? Unless, Lin Fan laughed. What a crafty fella. For someone like Shui Shen, there must be a secret skill or something he was using to preserve his life. But to someone like Lin Fan, it was all useless. Lin Fan stretched out his finger. Nirvana finger. Instantaneously, an explosive force erupted from that ordinary-looking finger as a large amount of true energy surged through into Shui Shen's body. Arg! Shui Shen wailed out as he felt the source of his body erupting from every single cell. Those bloodshot eyes stared at Lin Fan with boundless hatred. It was as though he was cursing for Lin Fan to die terribly in the future. But to Lin Fan, none of this mattered. Ding! Congratulations on killing lesser celestial upper-level Shui Shen. Ding! Experience points plus 100 million feet. Lin Fan laughed. Indeed, this was the type of pleasure from killing a high-leveled beast. But to be able to meet someone as dumb as Shui Shen, this should be a once-in-a-lifetime event. Even though he knew that the other party couldn't defeat him, he still wanted to take down Shui Shen. And the only way he could do this was to resort to trickery. Looking at the dead hanging Shui Shen, Lin Fan chuckled. He clapped his hands, then carved something onto the tree above him. Good deeds he did should not be spread to the masses, that was Lin Fan's style. But killing someone, of course, he had to leave his name behind. Shui Shen has sinned gravely in his life. He is vanquished on this day by yours truly, Lin Fan. Looking at these words, Lin Fan could not help but smile at the face of it all. Not bad, not bad. Flicking his robes, hands behind his back, he headed off calmly into the distance. Even though he had done the masses a favor by killing off vermin, it was a small matter not worth mentioning. A gust blew by. The renowned Shui Shen had died just like that. Hanging on the tree bare naked, it was as though he had suffered great humiliation before his death. Lord Shui Shen. After some time had passed, Shui Qing came from the distance on horses with the other disciples. After receiving Lin Fan's destructive kick, Shui Qing had finally come to. Even though there was still waves of pain spreading from his crotch area, Shui Qing could still bear with it for now. But Lord Shui Shen had been gone for so long, which was pretty worrying. Shui Qing thus brought everyone with him for a search. But once they reached the place where Shui Shen was hanging, their faces changed. He could not believe that Lord Shui Shen had died just like that. Shui Qing took in a deep breath, slowly letting down Lord Shui Shen from the trees. He then bit down furiously on his teeth. Father, I will seek vengeance for you. Silently, Shui Qing placed his hand onto Shui Shen's chest as a red glow shimmered dimly under his palms. Avoiding the notice of everyone else, a few black spots appeared on Shui Shen's ghastly pale face. Senior brother, there are words here. One of the disciples standing under the tree shouted. Gripping his fists tightly, Shui Qing looked at the carving on the tree with a frozen death stare. Lin Fan. Chapter 236, An Elaborate Ploy. Chapter 236, An Elaborate Ploy. Qinshan Dynasty's Palace. Tang Long, is there anything troubling you? For the sake of comprehending the energy grid lines to break through to a greater celestial cultivation base, the Qin Emperor had gone into seclusion for the past 10 years. The moment he came out of it, someone was trying to murder his son. This very fact riled him to no end. Tang Long was the son of the Qin Emperor and his most beloved woman in this lifetime. To think that the woman would pass away just a few years later. Pained by her passing, the Qin Emperor converted his sorrow into motivation to grow stronger and thus entered a seclusion by himself. But an empire could not do without its ruler. The Qin Emperor then used a secret skill to control a person, forcibly boosting his cultivation base and changing his appearance so that he could impersonate the Qin Emperor himself. But now that his beloved son had been revived from the dead, the Qin Emperor was overflowing with joy. Even though he did not know the cause of it, he attributed it to the heavens blessing his son. Father, I'm all right. However, I'm feeling guilty about hiding something from you. The Tang Long today is no longer the Tang Long he was. Ever since the jade white skeleton entered him, he was no longer Tang Long and would never be. The Qin Emperor fondled his beloved son's head lovingly. It's all right. No matter what you've been hiding, Father will never be angry at you. Father, this is a broken piece of map that I had bought from a roadside stall while I was playing around the city. The location indicated on it is the Forbidden Ground, Dead Demon Seas. Tang Long took out the map, which was made up of an unknown material, but by the looks of it, one could tell that it was pretty old. The moment the Qin Emperor heard the 3 words, Dead Demon Seas, he was taken back for a moment. Holding up the map, he looked at it carefully. On this damaged map, there was a clear mark over the Dead Demon Seas. And on an upper corner of the maps, a few words could be seen. 7 Saints Treasure Map. Looking at the map, the Qin Emperor's face softened. Tang Long, is there anyone else who knows of this? No, Father. Ever since I got my hands on the map, I've been keeping it by my side. I had intended to explore it for myself once I got stronger, but I've thought it through now. No matter if a treasure exists within it or not, I should hand the map over to Father. That's my good son. The Qin Emperor nodded his head and left soon after, allowing his son to continue resting. Looking at the Qin Emperor leave, Tang Long's calm face let out a cryptic smile. Darned bastard. Wait till I see you once more. I will make sure that's your death day. Tang Long gripped his fists tightly as the flames danced once more in his eyes. Within an unknown forest, a man and a bird were walking together happily. One for you, one for me. Chicky, grow faster. Kutkukoo. Lin Fan was taking out pills from the storage rings he had confiscated and split them one by one with Chicky. N-O-V-E-N-C-O-M. Chicky was dancing happily on his shoulders as well, propping up his wings proudly. Raising his sharp beak up high, he was taking in the pills one by one as well. Lin Fan was pretty satisfied with the robbery this time round. This could be considered successful since he gained quite a number of good pills in the process. Most of the credit went to Shui Shen, of course. He was the one who provided the best resources, and Lin Fan was having a great time downing all the pills he got from Shui Shen. But Lin Fan did not consume all of them, especially some of the suspicious-sounding ones. Like this pill whose name was 3 infant pills. Even though the quality was pretty decent, it was way too cruel. This pill was made by removing the infant from the mother's womb the moment it took shape within. After that, the fetus was soaked with various medicinal herbs and ingredients before finally cultivating it out. Even if Lin Fan was craving experience points, there was no way he'd consume a pill like this. This would truly be betraying his humanity. Lin Fan took out the 7 Saints treasure map, and took a look at it. Next stop. Dead Demon Seas. Lin Fan had thought that the 7 Saints treasure map was a precious item, but he now knew that one had to pay a terrible price for it. Lin Fan's mind was filled with questions. Even though the 7 Saints treasure map was nothing pure, he still could not make out the true identity of the 7 Saints. Were there really 7 of them? From the moment Lin Fan received the pill, he knew that this was all an elaborate ploy set up by someone. That heaven-revolting life-changing pill was indeed a godly pill. No matter how pathetic one's potential was, as long as they consumed it, they would raise their potential to the max. But within the pill itself was a godly consciousness hidden. This consciousness was incomplete, just a portion of its entirety. And whoever was unfortunate enough to consume it, even if their potential were to be maxed out, they would be devoured by this godly consciousness. If the system had not indicated this out, Lin Fan would not have guessed it. But coming to think of it, bloody hell. All these things about having to find a treasure or whatsoever were just a ruse. Which sort of divine being would be so kind as to give off his lifetime's worth of achievements so willingly? And then drawing a map out and leaving it for the good of the future generations, who would do that? Only one who was unaccountably solicitous and was hiding evil intentions. After all of this, Lin Fan was even suspicious of his own system. Just what was the system all about? But Lin Fan could not be too bothered to guard against the system. After all, everything he was today was due to the system. Even if the system wanted to do anything untoward towards himself, what could he do about it? So, it'd be better to forget thinking anything negative about the system. Therefore, the powerful being who had created this 7 Saints treasure map had intended for someone in the future generations to come and retrieve it. After following it step by step and sinking deeper into the abyss, he would then become a vessel for the powerful divine being. Thinking of this, Lin Fan could not help but chuckle. If he had not experienced this for himself, he might not have believed in this novel-like plotline. Cuckoo. After swallowing a pill, Chicky was crying out for more. Noisy. Does it look like I'll gobble up your share? Lin Fan tossed a pill over as Chicky caught it into his mouth satisfactorily. Lin Fan tossed the pill into his mouth as well. Ding, congratulations on consuming heaven lower graded pill. Godly training pill. Experience points plus 500,000. Converting pills to experience points one by one, Lin Fan was extremely joyous. As the clouds darkened, the skies cracked roughly, a sign of rain. Lin Fan hastened his footsteps. It was best to seek shelter first. After traversing for tens of miles, he came across a cave. After entering the cave, Lin Fan explored it for a little. There were traces of burnt ashes from firewood on the floor. Evidently, someone else had sought shelter here as well. After cleaning up a little, Lin Fan took out a mat from within his storage and laid it out on the floor. Boom! The skies roared as it began pouring outside. Since Lin Fan could not fall asleep, he decided to take out the items from his previous robberies. Oh well, since they were just lying around in his storage sack, he might as well put them to some use. It had been a long time since Lin Fan had crafted any equipment. The thought of it had him itching slightly for it. The legendary 9-5 legendary brick in his possession was a product of his persistence in the past. He wondered if he had retained the same luck as that day. Chapter 237. 7 Realms Bring You Comfort. Chapter 237. 7 Realms Bring You Comfort. Lin Fan was going through the items in his storage. There had been a number of toys accumulated within them, quite a few from his robberies. But they had yet to be put to use. For example, the items he had robbed from people like Ni Mansion, the Yan Emperor, etc. A couple of decent graded armors, a pair of Dragon Phoenix storage rings and a bunch of other stuff. Ding, congratulations on discovering heaven lower graded skill, Blood Sea. Learn. Lin Fan flipped the pages of Blood Sea's manual. This was a corrupted and evil skill. To master a skill like this, one would not achieve it from just cultivating hard day and night. The main source of energy for a skill like this was blood itself. Even though at the peak of this ability, one could be reborn from just a drop of blood, this skill was just too evil in Lin Fan's point of view. He wondered who it was who created something like this. If he had met such a person, he was sure he would teach this guy a lesson. But then again, rebirth through just a drop of blood. How goddamn strong was that? Forget it. A skill was a neutral thing that knew no right or wrong. For a righteous person such as yours truly could definitely bring this skill onto the right path. Learn. Ding, congratulations on learning heaven lower graded skill, Blood Sea. Ding, Blood Sea level 1, 0 10 thousandths. Lin Fan tried to sit down cross-legged and enter cultivation state. But indeed, Blood Sea was a mysterious skill which didn't gain a single drop of experience points. It seemed like it was indeed different from other skills and could only be replenished by blood itself. Even though Lin Fan had learned Blood Sea, the manual would not disappear just by itself. Lin Fan continued sorting out the stuff. Finally, looking at his sorted storage, Lin Fan let out a smile. Dozens of armors, one manual, dozens of FCKED up pills, a pair of dragon phoenix rings, a pair of blood dragon's horns and a drop of purple horned dragon's essence blood. Even though these items may be treasures in the eyes of others, to Lin Fan, they were comparable to trash. Especially a skill such as Blood Sea. What a corrupted skill to exist in this world. Leaving it in the world would be an injustice to the masses. Let yours truly incinerate it then. Heaven and earth smelt. Just then, the heaven and earth smelt within Lin Fan's mind opened up as Lin Fan contemplated for a moment if he should really do this. Lin Fan did not want to think too much about it as he tossed all the items into the smelt. This smelt was a legendary item for crafting. There was nothing in this world it could not smelt down. After tossing in the items, the potential results lined up in a row for Lin Fan to choose from. Lin Fan could not be bothered about any of the equipment. Too many options caused him to be dizzy as well. Smelt as you please. Roar rrr. The smelt closed its door as the smoke dragon coiled itself around it once more, breathing out fire above the smelt. Towards this smelt, Lin Fan was filled with both love and hatred. Even though he had gained quite an amount of experience points for his eternal demon body, after entering it the other day, it was an unbearable and tortuous pain. To someone like Lin Fan who undoubtedly loved the pleasure of having comforts in his life, that was a process too darn cruel and painful. But that was only because he was forced to the edge of life and death by that spirit. But now that he was at peace, there was no need to him to go to such extremities to level up. Lin Fan waited patiently as the dragon continued coiling itself while the smelt roared, wondering what was happening inside. Lin Fan waited in anticipation, wondering what sort of legendary equipment he would create this time around. The smelt vibrated, and a beam of light shot out abruptly. Lin Fan's heart was nearly in his throat by now as his face was filled with anxiousness. Shit, had something gone awry? Back when he had crafted the 9-5 legendary brick, he didn't get any reaction like this. Was it because he had gone rusty after not crafting anything for a long time, and he couldn't craft anything any longer? Lin Fan waited with bated breath, waiting for the notification from the system. Ding, congratulations on crafting a legendary equipment. Phew, FCK me. The moment he heard the notification, Lin Fan almost fainted from the relief he felt. He had not expected it to succeed this easily. Was yours truly blessed by Lady Luck? To be able to craft legendary equipment one after another. This happiness came way too suddenly, but Lin Fan needed to hold it in. Ding, owner's luck is extremely high. Ding, congratulations on crafting a one-time use legendary equipment. 7 realms. Lin Fan was taken aback. One time, what did that mean? A golden beam then shot out from within the smelt. Lin Fan controlled his excitement, as he had to see clearly just what sort of legendary item this was. But when Lin Fan caught sight of the legendary equipment, he nearly puked out all the blood in his body. What the? Feeling it in his hands, Lin Fan was stunned wide-eyed as he heard the description from the system. Sophisticated web surface creating a silky smooth sensation. Embedded with pretty floral designs in its dents. But don't look down on these floral designs. They are essential for the sake of a high absorption rate. Comfy side cushion guards to pamper your delicate skin while its exquisite materials provide an enhanced experience to ensure a snug fit. Just what in the world was all this? What's this? What's that? What? Lin Fan felt like crying at this point. All the equipment he had dumped in, all for a sanitary pad. 7 realms. Why not call it a BL** Adi Cotex? So permeable you could breathe with it. Lin Fan was almost in a state of frenzy. No matter how he thought about it, he would have never expected this outcome. Was it because the system knew that he was having too good a time recently and hence it played this trick on Lin Fan? But this joke was not funny at all. No, 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 ding. Legendary equipment 7 realms. Able to cause death from menorrhagia. Can only be used on females. Disregards cultivation base. One-time use. Activation phrase. 7 realms bring you comfort. ... FCK, what the flying FCK? Lin Fan stared at this all so familiar looking piece of equipment with his mouth agape. He had thought that the system was pulling a prank on him. To think that it would be so darn strong. Even though the looks of it seemed somewhat indecent, Lin Fan was extremely excited over its power. Disregarding cultivation base, death from menorrhagia. These 6 words were enough to represent everything. But what was up with the activation phrase, 7 realms bring you comfort? BL***adi hell, shouldn't it be 7 realms cause no leakages? But to think that if he were to ever get into any trouble with some woman whose cultivation base was beyond godly, all he had to do was to send this sanitary pad flying towards her face, and it'd wrap itself down there and cause her to die of menorrhagia. The thought of it was extremely satisfying. Lin Fan placed the 7 realms carefully back into his storage. This would be a powerful weapon for him in the future. But what Lin Fan did not understand was the mechanics of the heaven and earth smelt. Just what sort of requirements did it have for a legendary equipment to be crafted? This was puzzling. Based on the current situation, seemed like he would need to take some more time exploring this smelt. Ever since he had been busy with training up his cultivation base, he had neglected the smelt almost entirely. Seemed like it was time to buck up with it. Just then, he heard some noises from outside the cave. Lin Fan frowned and pretended to sleep. He was waiting to see just who it was. N-O-V-E in .c ohm. Translator's thoughts. Lam. Hi guys. A few explanations for this chapter. So, regarding the dragon and phoenix rings. They come as a pair because in Chinese lore, the dragon and a phoenix comes as a pair where males are often symbolized by the dragon and women by the phoenix. People describe the king and queen of ancient times as the dragon and phoenix pair. In modern times, it's used to describe perfect couples or twins with different genders. Alright, now for something interesting. Why's the activation phrase, 7 realms brings you comfort? In the Raws, it's directly translated to, takes you flying. It's a tagline from one of the sanitary pad brands. That's why Lin Fan was saying that it should be, causes no leakages. Alright, so why did I not retain it as, takes you flying? Because it would make no sense in the context. The actual meaning of the tagline is closer to something like causing great comfort and allowing freedom for the women wearing it. So there's my explanation. Cheers. Chapter 238, Unfortunate Attempt. Chapter 238, Unfortunate Attempt. Brother Shah, there's a cave right ahead. We can seek shelter within. A female voice came from the outside. Following it was the voice of a male. By the sounds of it, they both seemed relatively young. Yes, be careful, Yuhan. Shah Yudian said thoughtfully. Who's there? The moment these two entered the cave, Lin Fan asked, pretending that he had just woken up. The moment Shah Yudian heard the presence of someone, he looked at the other party warily. He only heaved a sigh of relief when he couldn't feel any aura from this person. Just a normal anybody. Hi, fellow traveler brother. It's pouring out there, so we're just trying to seek shelter here for the night. Shah Yudian replied politely. Ah, right, no worries. There's a fire over there which you guys can use to warm up with. It'll be easy to catch a cold if you guys are drenched. Lin Fan said as he sat up. In this pitch-dark cave, the dim fire was not enough to light up the entire place. Yes, Shah Yudian nodded his head. He then sat down with He Yuhan cross-legged, as both of them started channeling their true energy. A white mist slowly floated around them and their wet clothing dried instantly. Oh, so the both of you are martial artists. Lin Fan acted surprised. That's right, how about you, brother? Where are you from? Shah Yudian laughed, but he was still wary in his heart. Ever since they had fought his way out of the family, they had since dodged 3 ambush attempts on their way here. If not for the rain, they wouldn't have rested here as well. But now that it was pouring outside, their tracks and scent should be covered by the rain. Those men should not be able to chase them here. Just a normal resident of the Qinshan dynasty. Lin Fan laughed. Brother Shah, please consume this. He Yuhan took out a pill from her storage sack. The moment she took it out, the cave was filled with a pleasant aroma of the pill. It smells good. Lin Fan was caught by surprise. This pill was good stuff. But he acted coy. This is just a normal cold-removing pill to keep us warm. Nothing much. Shah Yudian patted He Yuhan's hand gently, implying for her not to be too extravagant so as to not attract attention. The only reason why he was able to escape from the family was all thanks to He Yuhan. But at the same time, he had dragged her into trouble along with him. He Yuhan looked at Lin Fan and smiled gently. But this smile was more of a warning. No matter who you are, you better not try anything funny. Oh, Lin Fan did not say anything more. Lying down, both of you have a good rest. I'll be turning in first since I've still got a rush off tomorrow morning. Sure. The night was quiet as Shah Yudian and He Yuhan engaged in a hushed conversation. They were sabotaged, therefore, there was no way they could remain in that family which they had been staying with for the past 17 years. If not for Sister Yuhan's help, he would have long fallen prey to them. Even though he knew that Sister Yuhan wasn't anyone from an ordinary background, he had known her since he was young. Thus, he trusted her wholeheartedly. Besides, now that he had a paracelestial cultivation base, Sha Yutian was also clear in his heart that most of his achievements today were all thanks to Sister Yuhan. For the past few years, Sister Yuhan had always returned with some mysterious pills to share with him. Even though she always insisted that they were ordinary pills, Sha Yutian was no fool. He knew that these were special pills. After consuming them, his cultivation speed would always increase tremendously. Let's take a rest first. Sha Yutian eyed Lin Fan before turning around to tell Yuhan. Yes. Lin Fan was wide awake the whole time round. His thoughts were on these two people. Now, there was nothing special about the lad, he was definitely a poor FCK. Average cultivation base, and there was definitely nothing to be squeezed from him. But that young lady was different. To think that her cultivation base would be way higher than this lad. In fact, she was more powerful than most people Lin Fan had come across. Paracelestial full cultivation, even though this may not be extremely strong, but it was weird for Lin Fan to see it appear on a girl out of nowhere. Furthermore, the pill she took out was nothing ordinary. As a master of pill cultivation, Lin Fan could tell its quality just by sniffing it. The pill was an earth upper grade pill. Even if this were in a sect, it would be considered a pretty decent pill. To be able to take it out just like that, evidently, she must have some secrets to her. Lin Fan could not help but entertain the idea of robbing these guys. Gradually, the cave went silent, and the only sounds were those of breathing. Within that darkness, a pair of bright eyes glimmered. Lin Fan felt that he had to teach these two young kids an important lesson. How could they fall into such a deep sleep out in the outside world? What if they were to meet with people of impure intentions? Even though they might lose some valuables from this experience, it was far better than losing their lives due to such a mistake in the future. Bearing the heart of a savior, Lin Fan slowly stood up. His footing was light as he had trained it all this while. One could even hear the drop of a pin. Even a paracelestial full cultivation girl like her wouldn't be the wiser. Silently, Lin Fan continued his approach. He did not mind giving both of them a gentle knock of his brick. But, when he came to both of them, Lin Fan let out a smile. Looking at these two still deep in their sleep, he could not help but sigh. What a golden couple they were. The fact was that it wasn't Sha Yutian and He Yuhan who were in a deep sleep. It was Lin Fan's skills of sneaking around that were so immaculate that they couldn't even sense a single thing, not even a hint. If they were to just close their eyes normally and Lin Fan was standing in front of them, it'd be as though he was in stealth mode. Hee. Lin Fan sniggered to himself and turned his gaze onto the ring on He Yuhan's finger. The ring shone in the darkness like a star in the skies, attracting his attention immediately. Excuse me then, hee. Lin Fan stretched out his evil hands. But just at that moment, he froze. He could suddenly feel an aura being locked on him. It was as though the other party was ready to kill him the moment he stretched out. Lin Fan's brains started tinkering. This was an extremely strong aura. He was definitely no match for this guy. He wasn't sure if he could defend against it entirely with eternal demon body, either. And this guy was hidden in the shadows, not budging a single inch. He was definitely waiting for Lin Fan to take action. If this man was not appearing, then he was definitely here to protect these two. For someone that strong to be willing to stand guard for them silently in the shadows, this ring must definitely contain a load of precious stuff. N-O-V-E in .c ohm. To be or not to be? Lin Fan was hesitating. *T. What an unfavorable situation he was in. Lin Fan was indignant at this point. Why the hell had his good luck turned into *T luck in the blink of an eye? He had found a wealthy target, yet he was unable to take action. It's so cold out here, how could they not cover themselves as they sleep? What if they fall ill? Reluctantly, Lin Fan took his mat over and covered the two of them. He then shook his head and returned to his original position, turned over and went to sleep. The aura which had locked onto him disappeared instantly as well, as though it had never been there in the first place. Two streams of tears streaked down from Lin Fan's eyes. What a painful revelation this was. He Yuhan, who was deep in her sleep, opened her eyes gently and let out a long knowing smile before returning to slumber. But Lin Fan could not fall back asleep. This was the first time he had failed after wanting to rob so hard. Lin Fan could not take this. Damn it, whoever you are hiding there, better not let yours truly catch you. Otherwise, yours truly would rob you clean. Translator's thoughts. Lam Lam. Hi guys. I would like to let you know that He Yuhan and Sha Yutian are not siblings. The way they call each other brother and sister is an endearing term to be attached on. Typically, couples would use this. Or at the very least, the two of them must share a very close relationship. Also, the term for sister tells us that He Yuhan is younger than Sha Yutian. Cheers. Chapter 239, Earth-Shattering Secret. Chapter 239, Earth-Shattering Secret. A building stood towering mightily, reaching into the clouds. It appeared and changed repeatedly within the void. One moment it was standing at the peak of a volcano, and the next, it appeared in the middle of a sea of blood. This building was like a mirage. Even if it were seen by mortals, they would have thought that they'd seen wrongly, as it would have disappeared in the blink of an eye. The building had 12 levels. On the highest level, a man was kneeling and trembling before a person clad in black robes wearing a ghastly-looking mask. The 12th level was the most mysterious place in Blood Kill Sect. After all, this was the peak of Blood Kill Sect. Even though one could not see the emotions beneath the masked man, one could feel that he was filled with anger from the rapid vibrations and tremors of the void around. The masked man stretched out his hand. To think that the hand hidden beneath the black robes would be so delicately smooth and snow-white. He pinched Shui Qing's chin gently as those eyes beneath the mask emitted a bright red glow. Shui Qing was trembling nervously, large beads of sweat dripping down from his forehead. In front of this man, Shui Qing felt as though his entire heart had been seen through. There was no secret which could be hidden from this man. N-O-V-E in .C Ohm. Hee. The masked man's voice was deep, like the calling of a demon from the 9th level of hell. As he swept back his robes, Shui Qing, who was kneeling on the ground, disappeared into thin air. Interesting. An aperture in the void appeared before the masked man. Gradually, the man entered the void and disappeared. Shui Qing felt as though he had traveled through the boundaries of hell. Opening his eyes and looking at his surroundings, he found himself on the 1st level. Sir. A disciple nearby greeted him. Shui Qing wiped the sweat from his forehead and nodded gently. Facing the level master of the 12th level, Shui Qing felt as though he had entered the depths of the 9 hells without a single room for resistance. No one in this world had seen the true appearance of that level master. In fact, no one had even seen him strike. But no matter who it was, even if it were the level master of the 11th level, everyone would tremble uncontrollably before him, unable to make eye contact with him. It was as though the person beneath the mask was not a human, but a god, and all of them were ants to that fact, helpless against him. But Shui Qing gripped his fists tightly. As long as the 12th level's level master took action, that guy would definitely stand no chance. Even though Shui Qing did not know of Lin Fan's true strength, he knew that Lin Fan was a dangerous presence. The only chance at vengeance was to report this to the Great Lord. But Shui Qing's task at hand right now was to take control of the 1st level. Ever since his father's death, there had been many eyeing the position of level master. He had to take them all down. Next day, after the downpour, the forest let out a refreshing smell of nature. The bright morning sun shone, as though purging all the darkness away. Lin Fan was waving goodbye to these two people with a smiling face. In that emotional gaze was a look of reluctance. After a night of contemplation, Lin Fan finally gave up on the thoughts he had. He did not know what the cultivation base of the man in the shadows was. But for the sake of his own safety, this was a gamble he shouldn't take. Farewell. Sha Yutian placed his palm over his fists and bid Lin Fan goodbye. On the other hand, He Yuhan revealed a wide, knowing smile to Lin Fan as they left. Those bright, deep eyes of hers sparkled as though she had seen through Lin Fan entirely. Where should we head to? After leaving the cave, Sha Yutian sighed. Brother Sha, we can try out with this place. He Yuhan took out a map and pointed at it. Looking at the map, Sha Yutian was taken back momentarily, but he eventually nodded his head. Brother Sha, that person just now wasn't a good man. You mustn't sleep so deeply again next time, alright? He Yuhan smiled like a blossoming flower. I think he was pretty decent, isn't he? Sha Yutian shrugged. He Yuhan smiled and did not reply. After they went on their way, Lin Fan continued along. He was quite a distance from the dead demon seas. He was quite a distance away from Glory Sect too. It seemed like it wouldn't be so easy getting back to the sect from here on. Sigh. He wondered how his 14 sand bandits were doing. But with their brains, they shouldn't starve to death. What about that pseudo-male Lu Linfang he had trained up? How was he? Thinking about this, Lin Fan's heart was filled with melancholy. Far from the Qinshan dynasty, he entered a patch of danger grounds. Lin Fan could sense the aura of multiple beasts in the area. Some were strong while others were weak. Along the way, Lin Fan had been contemplating about two things in his mind. First was the life seed. Lin Fan had explored it thoroughly. Other than the fact that its life force was boundless, he couldn't get to do anything else with it. He wondered what it was actually used for. And the second was the blood sea skill. Even though this was a corrupted skill, one could not deny the merits of cultivating it up to a high level. Rebirth through just a drop of blood, that was a power countless of people would die for. But he wondered if it were for real. Even Shui Shen may not have reached that level of power. GRAWRH. Just then, in a forbidden area of the place, a beast stood before Lin Fan's path while blocking him. This beast was muscular and broad. Thick scales lined its back as it stood on all fours. It was like an alligator, and its eyes were filled with a murderous look. Boom, boom, the earth shook as the beast tilted on one side and stomped down heavily on its 2 feet, releasing a vibrating roar across the place. Die! Lin Fan jumped towards the beast barehanded, carrying boundless amount of energy in his palms for this karate strike towards the forehead of the beast. The gigantic beast opened its mouth, revealing its teeth that were ready to chomp down on Lin Fan's hands. But in that instant, all of its teeth shattered. Bam! The beast collapsed onto the floor with one slap on its skull. Ding! Congratulations on defeating Paracelestial middle-level beast, Steelback Crocodile. Ding! Experience points plus 100,000. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining 1 drop of Steelback Crocodile essence blood. ... Lin Fan could not care much about trash beasts like these. The experience points he needed now to level up was 700 million, and he was only halfway there. Experience from trash beasts like this Steelback Crocodile was just a drop of water in an ocean. But just then, Lin Fan realized that the essence blood of the Steelback Crocodile seemed to be attracted to him. Immediately, the thought of blood sea hit Lin Fan's mind. Could a beast's essence blood be of use? After failing to level it up through sitting down and cultivating, Lin Fan thought that this skill could only level up using human blood and was intending to give it up. Even though the benefits of blood sea were extremely attractive, there was no way Lin Fan would hunt humans for their essence blood just for this. Lin Fan beckoned and curled his finger as the drop of blood flew towards him. Hesitating for a split moment, Lin Fan swallowed it. The essence blood of a beast was not meant to be directly consumed by a human. Even though one would enter a beast-like state and turn powerful after consuming it, the impact on one's body would be extremely heavy unless it had gone through some sort of processing. The moment the essence blood entered Lin Fan's body, the system rang immediately. But Lin Fan did not bother about it and started channeling blood sea. Lin Fan felt as though multiple bloodlines were spreading out through his body. These lines were like the tentacles of an octopus, surrounding the essence blood and sucking on it. Ding! Blood sea. Experience points plus 100. ... Lin Fan opened his eyes and revealed a smile of satisfaction. Within those calm eyes of his, a bright sparkly lit up, as though he had just discovered an earth-shattering secret. Here comes yours truly. Chapter 240. Chicky, I choose you. Chapter 240. Chicky, I choose you. Lin Fan was overwhelmed. To think that the perfect outcome he had thought about in his head would actually work out with the essence blood of beasts. This was an extremely easy task for Lin Fan. But the thing that bothered Lin Fan was the fact that the essence blood from the Steelback Crocodile had only given him 100 experience points. Would the experience points change depending on the cultivation basis of the beast? Lin Fan took out Chicky from his storage. The moment Chicky came out, he spread his wings and cried out loudly. He enjoyed the fresh air of the outside world. Patting Chicky on the head, Lin Fan said gently, "Chicky, gimme a drop of your essence blood." Even though Chicky was still a youngling, a drop of essence blood shouldn't be too much of an issue for him. But just then, something shocking happened. The once lively Chicky toppled over and collapsed, tilting his head. But those little claws of his still gripped Lin Fan's robes so that he did not fall over to the ground. You, Lin Fan did not know what else to say. This BL*Adi Chicky. No matter how Lin Fan shook him, he would not wake up as though he was dead. Sticking out his pink tongue, it was as though he had truly died. Alright, fine, I don't want it anymore. Stop pretending. Lin Fan did not know what else to do with Chicky. To think that this was the rebellious nature of an uneducated kid. Lin Fan was speechless. And indeed, the moment these words left Lin Fan's mouth, Chicky regained his life force and energy, hopping around while crying out loudly in joy. Lin Fan rolled his eyes and placed Chicky back in his storage. Fine, seems like there's only one way about it then. The one thing not lacking in this world is the presence of beasts. And within that dangerous place, a wolf-like beast was taken down by a single palm of Lin Fan. Ding, congratulations on defeating Precelestial Full Cultivation Beast. Ding, experience points plus 1000. Ding, congratulations on obtaining 1 drop of essence blood. Lin Fan consumed the blood. Ding, blood sea experience points plus 80. Lin Fan then continued hunting down some beasts. But Lin Fan gradually realized that not all beasts dropped essence blood. Some beasts, despite being just at the Precelestial level, would drop him an essence blood with a kill. But some of them, even if they were paracelestial beasts, might not drop anything post-death. At the same time, Blood Sea's experience points depended on the essence blood of the beasts. But on the whole, the essence blood provided by Precelestial beasts did not differ that much in terms of experience points. Same went for the essence blood of Paracelestials. Seemed like there was a huge amount of essence blood required to level up Blood Sea after all. So, what mattered was quantity, not quality. Through the day and night, a shadow shuttled around the danger grounds, slaughtering countless beasts sadistically. With his current cultivation base, Lin Fan would not actively seek out beasts of lesser celestial and above. After all, Blood Sea required quantity and not quality. Thus, Lin Fan became the beast exterminator. The moment he saw a beast, regardless of cultivation state, he would take them down all the same. The essence blood which he had deemed useless all the way was like precious gems right now. If Blood Sea could help someone be reborn just with a drop of blood at its max level, then wouldn't it be bloody overpowered if Lin Fan could evolve the skill with his system? Die! A beast roared with boundless ferocity, but crumbled all the same under Lin Fan's palms. Looking at the massive number of carcasses laying around, Lin Fan revealed a satisfied smile as well. The endless stream of notifications from the system made Lin Fan feel extremely pleased. Waving his robes, all the essence blood gravitated towards him as he swallowed all of it in a stream. Ding, Blood Sea experience points plus 100. Ding, Blood Sea experience points plus 90. Ding, Blood Sea experience points plus 120. Pleasure, incomparable pleasure. Not only was the skill he was using to kill these beasts leveling up, Lin Fan's own experience points were jumping as well. Coupled with the leveling of Blood Sea, this was killing 3 birds with 1 stone once more. Lin Fan only got more enthusiastic as he carried on. Roar! Just then, the earth shook as a powerful roar vibrated over from a distance. Bam! Bam! The earth continued to vibrate with every step. The beasts hidden in the surroundings began to raise their heads into the skies and howl as well. Seems like I've attracted the leader of them all. Lin Fan stood where he was, observing the distance silently, certain of the fact in his heart. The snarling bear's build was large and mighty. Standing on the ground, it seemed to be blocking the sunlight from the skies. How could the beasts in its territory keep dying off like this? These were all its food. If this were to carry on, how would it survive from here on? Even though the snarling bear was gigantic, it was agile as it raised its thick, large hind legs and leapt over a distance towards Lin Fan. Bam! N-O-V-E in .c ohm. Dropping from the skies, the snarling bear's landing impact caused a large dust cloud. Seemingly unable to deal with this sudden blow, the ground started cracking. Those eyes of the snarling bear were filled with boundless wrath. Roar! The snarling bear roared in the direction of the small, puny human. The sonic boom whirled around the entire place, as those beasts hiding in the surroundings ran off at sight with their tails between their legs. Lesser celestial lower level, Lin Fan looked at this ferocious beast. However, compared to the snow lion back then, this was way weaker. Are you trying to bully me with your height? Lin Fan raised his head and shouted. The snarling bear's response was a gigantic palm strike in Lin Fan's direction. Not bad, not bad. Pretty fierce, aren't you? Not bad. Yours truly will play along with you then. Come out, Chicky, you're up. Lin Fan released Chicky. The moment Chicky came out, he spread his wings and started crying again for the happiness of being let out once more. But his elation lasted for less than a second as he found himself facing a ginormous beast before his small eyes. He froze up. And because he was featherless, one could see all the goosebumps on his skin. Chicky flapped his wings and ran behind Lin Fan immediately. He then hugged Lin Fan's leg with his wings. Looking up with teary eyes, he revealed a look of fear. Looking at this, Lin Fan was speechless. Bloody hell, how was he so chicken? Even though the opponent might be a little bigger than you, he's only a lesser celestial lower level as well. You're the offspring of an ancient beast with the same cultivation level. What are you being chicken about? Lin Fan hooked up Chicky with his finger and faced him. You're saying you're afraid? What are you afraid of? You're the descendant of an ancient beast. Take out some guts, won't you? Kukkuko. Chicky flapped his wings frantically, looking at Lin Fan with those same teary eyes. It was as though he was saying, Daddy. The opponent is so big. I can't beat him. Lin Fan ignored those teary eyes of Chicky as he started swinging his arms. Chicky, it's time for you to show up. My little Chicky, I choose you. Just then, Lin Fan shouted loudly and tossed Chicky towards the snarling bear. Kukkuko. Flying in midair, Chicky tried to flap his wings repeatedly, hoping to land or something. But those small little featherless wings could not bring about even a single bit force. Chicky cried tragically. The snarling bear roared in Chicky's direction. The forceful roar caused Chicky to panic in midair. The snarling bear then sent his palm flying in the direction of Chicky. Terrified, Chicky spread open his wings and stretched out both his claws, all the while crying miserably. Translator's thoughts. Lamb lamb. Ha 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 ha, this just turned Pokemon.